Kulintar bekla de pamuli. Kalau ise malungil trial chil senmara bekla de gida ngartiang etia kamitira education senate le ruklo ka mo motmokra orange boy girela almutro matkela Dr. Jenkins gida ngartialo bangket almutro mo minister education. Ogu segide me umul mal menang asul bekla de ngartiang menang asul me Dr. Jenkins for agreeing for the reappointment to be Minister of Education. We thank you for that. Let me also thank the audience. Arang artial bangkita ang artia Minister Matu ma appointil Minister Kalib ngartiang triga ruba arang lo ngartiang ketika ngartiang ang aniar kocho sensel ngartial bangkit mar adalah Minister Education triga ngartial bangkit kemudian surat berkelas. Triga memang ngartial recognize ra adal tira ngartial bangkit adalah untuk mengarul biak lulau makote bomura Committee Education ikat-ngat elal chils ngartial bangkit Vice Chairman na Committee Senator Kasugi Tapsungino direka ngartial bangkit Senator Cecilil Eldebel adalah committee direka bangkit ngartiang Vice President ra Senate adalah committee Senator Stevenson Quartey direka bangkit ngartiang floor leader adalah committee takal Gray Mariul bangkit ngartiang Kerdegal ngartiang au bangkit adalah committee Senator N. Nati Pedro kita ngartial bangkit madrigal ngartial adalah committee Senator Tiche Imrul Mangsau direka ngartial bangkit direka ngartial bangkit adalah committee Senator Mark Erbelau-Rudim direka ngartial adalah committee kita direka ngartiang ya President Senate nya atabalil tial blang artial lo bangkit direka wayagel moktiar bekla ngartial lo mesra udur katukut makla ulul morsel kurbab kerja lang tengah tiale Senator Nakamura ngartiang direka lo bangkit nga tial hearing direka bertial bita nga Senator Inabo ngartial lo bangkit Senator ni ebang lup sangartiang Senator Talam sangartial lo bangkit direka Senator Prairiang Arsel direka lo bangkit triga kita arang lira adang ngartiang kita ngartial mongotmokor segidil ma trentingin tiang Axel Bukmarege, Dr. Jenkins, I'll give you the floor to do your opening statement and then you can share the report or highlight of the report. And when you're done, we'll come back to me and then we'll go over the narrative. Awira adborsel mal al-siltiang emedi kuntira teal iwaigel bebir credentials ra Dr. Jenkins mobol blaktak almar bekla adwasay ngan namaning alaigel Tokora school matokora klekegenya udur. Ani sel biskid personal professional background maktimo umum aigel biskid mung highlight aigel gidam tingil wasingang watala. Educational background has been focused on education of children. Bachelor's degree ringi, two master's degree ringi in reading and educational administration and supervision. The global doctorate degree ringi in policy and management. Direct certified education, instruction, and administration in the state of California, territory of Guam, Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas. Direct teaching experience ringi am lang na special education na California 2 years. Direct lang aram lungui, ngam na biskol ngaram lungui elementary lang lungui sensei. Direct ngania wani teaching English in Belamo Technical School. Direct la assistant professor education at University of Portland. Teaching graduate level master's courses in education research and statistics. There are 26 years ringin na Senchian Akwam, teaching research and statistics, teaching science, computer, physical education, and constitutional law. They can serve as a business manager of the school, head of the upper school, and finally associate headmaster. They can respond la Arcel Morita Scholar Program, funded by Hideki Morita. Offer two scholarships for Rebelau 9 to 12. The regular Mangil Morsen NASA teacher in space program in 1984-86 and underwent training for teacher in space flight in the under Challengers space flight. The regular selected for the flight السائل ملانيا كويستا مقالي في الفلايت unfortunately same لوم تاع الوصول دنيا تاع تريجي ملقي المرسجي للمرسل باسيو. The quality extension and responsible addition of high school courses to the school using international baccalaureate and advanced placement courses for high school students to take and receive college credit. The 2014 and headmaster of Saipan International School, the school nga Saibal, responsible for all aspects of school from pre-K and 4 to high school. The high school grades were added to the school under my tenure. Mangamlar segi the only sales high school mo part the tagil school niya ulang ra ablura Saibal. Ya olela 2015 ang assisted international organization for migration as an educational specialist to open an office in Palau. Tegil IOM lobby sa Palau ang gaya mludur say tulur bantri ada Ministry of Education makmatang segel time itel project tamle 5 years lobdur. I was one of the founders of Palau Independent Interscholastic Athletic Association BIIAA at 2015. Iti amo tangi lobdur bantri arangal kamagel tokol sports kita matangay. The legal secretary NCO until sila appointed mo Minister of Education ay kan nombre kala warra kay segir ludo NCO au nombre elanya ora school el Palau. Plaktak la school la Dr. Jenkins sama experience no sing ngara reak la kat segir amal plaktak la igal babengel. Og segir de Dr. Jenkins. Gigita gel credentials around nam uyu. Let me yield the floor to you for your opening statement and then you can share the report or narrate some of the highlights, and then we're done with that, then we'll take over and we go from there. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. And I want to say good afternoon for everybody coming out, and I appreciate your giving up your time to meet with me. It is a rare opportunity for me to get to address everybody and tell you about all the wonderful things that are going on in your schools. And so I hope we can all have a very open, frank, and friendly discussion and find out, I can find out from you what your concerns are, and you can find out more about what's going on in our schools. Before beginning, I would like to thank everybody else here who's taken the time for the confirmation hearing, the people up in the balcony that I can't see, and my friends back here who have taken time to come and drive through the rain. I called just before I left and it's raining up north. So that's something. Particularly, I would like to thank President Whips. Is that better? I would particularly like to show my appreciation to President Whips for giving me the opportunity to be the honor to the Minister of Education in Palau. It's something that I felt very strongly. I have been involved with the education here as a parent, as an assistant specialist with IOM, and this was just a very wonderful opportunity for me since I have seen things that I hope we could do to improve the instruction for our children. Beginning, this is discussing my appointment, but really everything which we're going to talk about or I'm going to present to you is the result of a team effort. It's not me, it's the others, it's the directors, it's the chiefs, it's all of the teachers, it's the principals, it's the bus drivers, it's the cooks, it's the staff. I think over the period of the 3.5 years that I've been with the ministry, we have worked together. We have had, as I know you all remember, a little bit of difficulty because adjusting to one another. But now I'm really, really pleased and proud of our team, of how we work together, how we are able to accomplish things, and how we all share the common goal to help our children learn. That's what we're for. As you can see by the report, it's been a period of time of change for the ministry. And some of that change was easier to implement, and some of it it is all designed with one question in mind. Does this help our students learn? If the answer to that is yes, then I think we need to go ahead. If the answer to that is no, we find another way. So that's, and I hope everybody, we can all remember that as the basic reason for our being. Also, people always tell me how important education is. And in my years of education, we usually rank near the bottom of importance in society. That's not the same in Palau. And it's really a wonderful experience. And I want to particularly thank the OEK for providing us with the financial funding to do what we need to do. Particularly this last year, as we requested supplemental funding for new buses, new boats, and some other materials, how quickly that was taken care of. And I'm proud to report right now, one of the buses is in Hawaii, ready to be shipped out here, which is really, really great. So again, thank you so much for your support. And I look forward to hearing more about what you want to have done in the ministry. There is some ideas which you share, and there's some ideas that you take from other countries. And I have been fortunate enough to work with many dedicated educators from all around the world. I just wanted to share one thing which I've been doing, touching base with a friend of mine who is in Singapore. Now, Singapore, 50 years ago, was a very poor area, no natural resources, difficulty, small, and today they rank as one of the top nations in the world. They are one of the top producers of refined petroleum, even though they don't have any petroleum. They've taken advantage of what they have and developed it. One of the keys to their success has been their educational system. And it is one that is not one which we're copying. It's more of a British system, but there are certain similarities that we have with them that bodes very well for the future of Palau. But it's important for us to remember that it's possible to make that progress. And it's not something which we don't have to worry about all the time. We are all, everybody in this room is the product of an educational system. A system made up of teachers, principals, whatever headmasters, whatever names they have. And all of those people have had an impact on your life. Hopefully positive, sometimes not so positive. But that is one that I remember the statement from Krista McAuliffe, who was the teacher in space on the Challenger flight, who came up with a little slogan of saying, I touch the future because I teach. And that's something that's very true. And that's something that I hope we can continue bearing in mind, because the children of the schools today are going to be the people sitting at these tables in the future. And the better their education, the better the society Palau can prosper. So great work has been done here. When I first was approached, I was asking what are the strengths of the school and what are the difficulties of the schools. And I was told the strengths of the schools were the students, and the areas of weakness were maybe the adults. And that was an area that I identified and looked at and tried to see how that related with the educational system of the children. Over the 3.5 years, we have made incredible progress in every way. And you'll see, I'm going to go through it a little bit, but I hope when you have questions, we can get into more detail on some of these projects, because they have been really exciting. And in some ways, Palau is leading the way in the Pacific in terms of up-to-date education. And I'll get as we go along on that. So first of all, if you can look on the project here, the proposal, this one. Yeah. It's the overview is very simple. Our goal is to improve student learning. That's a very simple philosophy. Now, there's a lot of things that go into that, but that's our basic thing. We also identified that change is needed in order to make that happen. And the type of change that's going to be necessary, we will be able to identify as to be able to help our children learn. And does it help our students improve their learning? So here are some of the administrative issues which we dealt with right away. School assessments were modified to provide more instructional time rather than testing time. We implemented the year-round calendar, which is, that's not really a great name for it, but it's what we call it. Basically, a calendar that we will talk about in a bit. Implemented the quarterly intercessions, which is a part of the year-round calendar. At the break, every quarter, the students have a break, and we have a lot of different things which have happened in those. In fact, those are becoming one of the primary positive elements of the year-round calendar. We implemented a new school information system. We had a very old, outdated way of record keeping, and our report cards were done by hand, and were taking a great deal of time to take care of, and were, in some cases, inaccurate. That has all been changed, and for those of you who are parents, you should be receiving your child's report cards within a day or two after the completion of the grading period, because it's all done electronically now. We also had a modification of our grade book and grading scale. Sometime in the last year, we were able to add a breakfast program for our elementary school students and for our schools. And that had some ramifications which we never expected to see. It improved attendance because the kids were coming to school. Some of them don't have breakfast at home, so they would come to school for the breakfast. They would have then time to sit and chat with their friends, talk about their friends and get their work done or whatever they need to do. So it was a social time as well. And then most importantly, it reduced the snacking period. It reduced the amount of snacks that they talked their parents into giving to them. And usually those snacks are soft drinks and chips, not the most healthy food for them to have. So it has given us a really good start for the day, and that I want to really appreciate our cooks for coming in even earlier than they normally come in to have that food prepared for the children. We also have 2 nutritionists who are responsible for developing the quality of the menus, and they are one from Japan and one from Taiwan. And they work very hard to find the proper elements of food, the right balanced diet, and to get those ready for the children to eat. Good news is, I think for me anyway, the Peace Corps is returning to Palau, and that was a long, hard-fought time, and I want to express my appreciation to the COFA team and to President Whips for writing letters indicating that we were the best choice, because he finally convinced them that we were the best choice. So we now have an office which is opened up and has filled some of the positions, and we have they'll be having 2 new members, or 10 members coming in July. And they'll be coming, all of them will be in the Ministry of Education working. We've identified the primary tasks we want them to work on, and they'll be doing that primarily working with our some of our electronic systems, reading programs and grading programs, so they can get the most out of those by using the capabilities. Also, all of the schools are, with the exception of the Southwest Islands, are fully accredited by the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, which is very rare for an entire nation to have all their schools accredited. So that's a real plus. And I want to thank the principals and the members of the schools for doing those. Those are individual school accreditations. It's not the ministry, it's the schools. Okay. So the next one with the pie charts, that is the comparison of the traditional calendar with the year-round calendar. I hope you've seen it. I've tried to show it as much as I can. Again, no difference in the number of school days. Same number, 184 days. We simply have taken September or summer and broken it up and put it around the quarters. At each quarter, so it would be a 9-week quarter, a 3-week break, 9-week quarter, 3-week break, 9-week quarter, 3-week break, and then so on. The intersessions, I said, are very important to us, and I'm going to hopefully get to be able to express more of that later. With our curriculum and instruction, one of the things which we did, which really is going to be of huge importance for the schools, is we added kindergarten. Prior to this, our students were not starting school until they were 6 years old, and they were starting at the first grade. So our kids were starting school 2 years behind in most cases. So when we started out at age 6, they're competing against students in terms of learning who have already had 1 year of kindergarten, and in some years, 2 and even 3 years of preschool programs. So that's an important step we've made. And the programs that they're working on have been done, I think the teachers are doing an outstanding job on it to help our kids learn linguistic acquisition, language learning, reading. Critical at that age because the neurological systems of the brain are determined. That's one of the key elements of life, is the ability to communicate, and by reading is a key element of that. And in doing this reading, they develop skills such as inquisition of what's going to be happening, predicting future events, developing inquiry elements, many of the skills which we later on as adults consider intelligence. So that's, but earlier we can get that into with the students, the better off we are. And the studies show that the 90% of the brain development at that point is completed by the time they're 5. So we're at the very end of that, and by turning 6, we kind of miss the window. Not that they can't learn, but it's like all of us have tried to learn another language as adults, and it's a lot harder for us to learn it than it is for children to learn it. It's because their brain is wired that way. The instructional specialists are our best teachers. They are the people who almost all, without question, have master's degrees in education. They're specialists in the field. And so what we have been able to do with them is to ask them, and they are actually in the schools rather than being in headquarters. If you go into the ministry, you'll find there's big empty places now upstairs where all the specialists used to be, because they're in the schools, and they're in the schools to help the teachers learn. Because we have some teachers, again, who haven't got the advanced degrees or are inexperienced, and so they're able to help them in that respect. So it's a real plus for that. The other issues we were addressing were, as elementary school, children go through elementary school, they will, the complexity of the coursework gets more difficult. And we were having difficulty with teachers who in the 4th, 5th, and 6th grade, and they were trying to teach math, science, social studies, all those reading, all of those times when it may not be their strength. So what we've done is we've departmentalized all the elementary schools now, 4th grade up, to where the teachers can specialize. One teacher will teach one class, 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade maybe. It's not always the same all the way through, but they can specialize in a subject area that they're most comfortable in and have the greatest experience in. Where grades kindergarten through 3, those are much more thematic and oriented, and so they're not departmentalized as such, because the interpersonal relationship between the teacher and the students is very critical at that point. The electronic grade books, which we talked about, are a key element of our attempt to improve communication with parents, and we'll be using that, so we're going to be opening up what's called the parent portal, so that parents who have an email address will be able to check their child's progress and a grade book on a daily basis, anytime they want. They'll have full access to that. They'll only have access to their child's grades, of course. But that's something which we're working on, and hopefully we'll have in operation, if not by the end of this year, by the beginning of next year. The use of computerization and technology is something which is very, very useful in education, because what it has enabled us to do is, for the first time, we can truly individualize instruction for our kids. In other words, the computers enable us to give an assignment for every child in the class appropriate to their level. I'll just give you one example. For example, our reading program, which is called Accelerated Reader, has it's in kindergarten through grade 8, and what it is it's a full credit course. It meets daily. The students can choose any book they want to read within their reading level, so that they're reading something they're interested in. They're not all sitting down and being forced to read the same book. And at the end of that time, when they finish the books, they take a little quiz, and then that'll tell where their strengths are, how they did. And then that will be stored in the computer, so that at the conclusion of a period of time where they've been reading several books, they've been taking these tests, and the computer will then be able to tell the teacher, here are some areas that this student may need help in. For example, if there's a vocabulary issue, or if it's a verb-subject issue. So the teacher doesn't have to have a master's degree or a doctorate degree in reading, because you've got the computer-assisted artificial intelligence working with you. And if you come over and watch one of these classrooms, it's a really fascinating thing to see. You'll have all these kids sitting around, most of them reading out of their tablets. They like the tablets better. And we have access to an online library. So there's unlimited access to that for the students. So they can bring their book, they can download their book, and they sit in the book in their computer or tablet and read it. And then at the conclusion of that time, they take a little quiz. The quiz takes about maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Just to get an idea, it's a 5-10 question quiz. And that enables us to know how well they're doing. We know their reading level, we know what grade level they're at, and we know what their areas of strength and weaknesses are, which has never been able to be done before. Our teachers here now are able to do things that the greatest reading teacher in the world 10 years ago could not do. Every child is doing something differently. And I would invite you to come by and see it sometime. You don't have to go very far. Munes has got a great program going. It's really nice. The other programs are supplemental to that. We focus a lot on the elementary level in the first couple of years, because that's where the development had to be done. We had to get those kids ready, because we were finding they weren't ready for certain areas of high school. And so I think we've got that. We're working on that. It's a work in progress. But the high school this year, and I really want to thank Principal Smythe as well as the faculty there for really taking charge and doing a complete curriculum review and revision of the high school classes. And that's a major undertaking. What we found is that over a period of years, something had happened to where all of our students entering 9th grade were all taking the same class. So it was like every one size fits all. And that's not the way the kids are. The way we found out was actually by using our new grading system. I was able to look at the grades, and I found out that 50% of our kids in the 9th grade were failing algebra. And brought this up to the principal, and he brought it up to the teachers, and they said, yeah, they knew, but they didn't know what to do about it. So we were able to get together, and they made a curriculum change to where we now have 3 different levels of math for those 9th grade students. There's an algebra, there's a pre-algebra, then there's a general math. And what that's done, it's enabled every child there to work appropriately to where they are, and they're making great progress in that area. So we've actually had students who have moved from one section to another section simply because they've had the time and the interest in do so. We have new courses in high school at the beginning. We have a new art course, a new music course, and a new archaeology course. And I would invite you all on Valentine's, our theater and arts class is putting on I guess a revision of the legend of Suré and Tulé. And so that's something that'll be held over there in the evening. So there are lots of good things happening over there, a lot of good things. And it's all the work of the principal and the teachers is really something to be commended. We were because of the generosity of the OEK, we were able to buy new textbooks for all of our social science classes from grades K through 12, as well as new science books from grade K through 12. We found that many of the science books which were being used were copyrighted in 2002, which is pretty old, and there's been a lot going on in science in that date. But now they're all up to date, they're all brand new, and they're all also linked with computer-assisted instruction. So we have a lot of benefits coming that way. Okay, I think, now one parent came up to me at the end of last year and said, yeah, we've got all this stuff we're doing, all this new stuff. What do we get out of it? And so if you would look at the next page with the bar graph, what we have here is the Iowa assessment results. Iowa assessment is a normed, valid, standardized exam to measure student learning. It's one of the biggest ones in the world. It was adopted here after considerable study with one that matched up most favorably with the curriculum being offered at the ministry. And so we give it to all students, grades 1 through 11 in the spring. It'll be coming up in April. So what I've done is I wanted to see not only how everybody class is being done, but how is one individual group of students doing as they go through the system. And so what we have, the first one is the class of 2027, which is our sophomore class this year. From the grade 3 through grade 9, those are their average scores in percentile rankings of the class, the same kids as they've gone through. So in the third grade, at the 2018, they were at the 22nd percentile, meaning they scored higher than 22% of the students. The next year, in 2019, they went to a 24, 2020, 25, 2020, 21, same thing, 25. That's something we saw almost consistently across the board for different grade levels. We were in a mid to high level 20th percentile, which is, I believe, much lower than what our students are capable of doing. So with the implementation of the new programs in the year 22, we went up to 32nd percentile. We went up the next year up to 34, and this past year we went to 37th percentile. So that's an increase of 15 percentile points, which is about 250,000 students that they passed. It's a huge increase, and it's really based on the work that the teachers are doing with them to helping them up to their accomplishment, up to their achievements. The next group is the class of 2026, this year's juniors. And it's the same thing, except from grade 4, they were at 2018, they were at the 24th percentile. Grade 2019, they were at the 26th percentile. Grade 2020, when they're 6th grade, back to the 25th percentile. Grade 7, 29th percentile. New programs implemented in year 22. They went up to 36th percentile. We had a little downturn in the 9th grade. They went to 34, and then grade 10 back up to 35. So again, that's an increase of 11 percentile points in that period of time. Now finally we have here, this is this year's senior class. And so when they were in the 5th grade, at the year 2018, they scored at the 20th percentile. Grade 6, the 21st percentile. Grade 7, the 30th percentile. Grade 8, 29th percentile. 22 with the new programs, 34 percentile. 23, 37th percentile. And 24, 39th percentile. That's an increase again of what, 29 points? It's a tremendous achievements on their part. So there's a lot of good stuff going on there. And again, that's the level measurement of what they have learned. The next one is one that's a little bit, I debated whether or not to show you this one, but I think it's one which we all need to look at. It's the percentage of students reading in the elementary levels at different grade levels. So if we start at the left-hand corner of the bars, you'll see that the blue bar is 3% and the brown bar is at 6%. That's the percentage of our students that are reading 2 grade levels above their grade. So if they're in the 3rd grade, they're reading at 5th grade level. So that's a really talented group, but it's a very small group. The next one over, which is the 1 grade, this is at grade level, sorry, at grade level. If they're in the 5th grade, they're reading at 5th grade level. Again, we had 6% in July, but it went up to 7% in December. It's only 4 months, so we've got to remember that. Then we finally have one where these are the people, kids from here on out, are reading below grade level. So 1 year below grade level. In July, there were 28%, and in December, 29%. Now that went up, right? That's not a bad thing. I'll explain why. It went up because the people who were reading 2 years behind and 3 years behind went down. And so that showed that they're moving up, so that these elements are moving up by the time they get into December. So so what I'm trying to say is we went from people who were at grade level or 1 year above grade level at the 9 percentile. In 4 months, we had increased that population to the 13 percentile. That's a lot of kids. And so the students who are over here on the right-hand corner, those are students who are 3 years behind. Those are students who are going to drop out. Those are students who we're going to lose. So we have got to work on getting them improvement. And that's why we're putting so much emphasis on the reading levels. Because if you're in the 3rd grade and you're reading 3 years below your grade, you're in kindergarten. I was unpleasantly surprised when I first came on. I was sitting in a class, it was a third grade classroom. And the teacher was giving a great lesson, don't get me wrong, it was a great lesson, using materials, moving around, and there was a little girl over here and a large boy over here. And the lesson was putting 3 letters together to make a word. And it was, the 3 letters were P, A, T. And so the teacher had given them little pieces of paper where they had written the letters on those, and then they were putting them together. So you could go P-A-T, pat, or T-A-P, tap. So the little girl figured it out and was just doing a great job. The poor guy over here, because he's a guy, he couldn't cut the paper properly. He made a mistake. He tried to erase it. He tore the paper. He couldn't get it done. And it wasn't the teacher's fault. It was the tools which we had been giving them were not good enough to help that boy. Now we have things which they can use to do it. They're using computerized things to do it. That was, and when I felt so badly for him, because number one, what we were teaching in the 3rd grade is what we're now teaching in kindergarten. And second, we were losing that boy. Not lost, but we were going to lose him unless we did some drastic action on that. And so that's one of the reasons why the kindergarten program has to be strengthened, and we have to continue with our reading program in the elementary school so that we can help those kids, because we cannot allow this type of thing. We cannot allow to have almost a third of our kids reading 3 years below. I was also in I think it was a 10th grade biology class. Teacher handed out these biology papers, books, written at the 10th grade level. In that class of 25 students, 2 could read at grade level. The rest could not read at grade level. So we're giving them books they can't read. And that's at 10th grade. So these are critical issues, things which we're really addressing, and we are addressing them, and we're seeing improvement. We're seeing student reading levels go up from 2 to 3 months in 1 month, which is a 300% increase. But again, we've got to continue with that. These are things which we can't just say, oh, we're done now. we have a lot of work to do on these. Now the faculty, I remember people telling me, oh, the faculty are no good. I never got that impression. I knew we had really good people. They were enthusiastic, they loved the kids, they worked hard, but some of them, they don't have the degree. It's not their fault. So that's why we're working with our faculty growth and development to help bring those teachers up to speed. So right now, if we go to I think the last chart, the little 4-pie chart, this shows where the teachers were in terms of their educational background in the year 2021, 22, 23, and then this year. We went from 60 of our teachers were high school graduates. 60 were high school graduates. Now that's gone down to 39. Now and they went from people with associate's degrees, which is a 2-year program, went from 116 down to 94. Now, what happened to those people? They were entered into our program, they've been taking courses, and they've moved up. Bachelor's degrees went from 42 to 62, and we have another 20 who will be graduating with their bachelor's degrees in May. They're finishing their coursework right now, and so that will be another 20 that'll be moving out of the associates group. And master's degrees went from a number 12 to 20. So we have moved our faculty into higher levels of education, which I think is an absolute. We need to start another cadre, which is going to be, the cadre which is graduating now is 20, are all specialists in special education. And I'll explain that why. But then we're going to be starting another one as soon as we can to allow teachers to enroll for a BED, which is a bachelor's degree in education of a content area or a grade level area, so that will be another way of improving their abilities in teaching. Okay. Then finally, the buildings. Our facilities are not the best, but this past year, thanks to the work of Director MOE, and thanks to the help from CIP, and thanks for the help from our friends in Japan and Taiwan, we have made great progress improving the comfort level of the schools. By the end of this year, every elementary school will have air conditioning. Every classroom will be air conditioned. We're almost finished with that now, but it's a time-consuming project. You have to change the windows, change the wiring, and then install the air conditioning, so it takes a little more time. But when we have the schools we have done that on, it changes it entirely. Number one, the kids are more comfortable. Number two, the teachers are more comfortable. So it's a better learning environment. And so we hope to have all done by the end of the school year. The other thing, which is, it's a little thing, but these things add up, we purchased new desks and chairs for students in grades kinder through 3, because the chairs we had, they were old, and they were not the right size. So you've got a little tiny kindergarten student whose feet don't touch the ground in his chair. So they end up making new ways of sitting. It's not a good situation. So those have all been replaced. And the desk, which were in some cases, made of 2x4 and plywood, weigh 300 pounds, made it very difficult for the teachers to go around and do instruction on an individualized basis. So the new desks which we have put in place, they're not rectangular. They are, I guess, octagon or hexagons. So what you can do with those very easily, you can make semicircles or circles with them. So the teacher can be in the middle of the class, the middle of the room with a small group of students teaching the lesson. The reason we're trying to emphasize more work with group work, small group work, the research shows that learning improves by use of group work. The interchange between the students is really helpful. Plus, the teacher is able to give direct work with them without having to run halfway across the room. And so it's right there for them. So they can do 2, 3, or 4 groups like that very easily, and then they can put them back together again however way you want it. So it enables flexibility and improved instruction. And it's not the sort of thing that you think about, but every little thing you can do to those classrooms will help. The other is we're replacing whiteboards. We have whiteboards up there that are older than me. And so they're being replaced so that the teachers, when they write on the board, you can read it, which is also a nice thing. The transportation and the cooking facilities, transportation, we were really short on buses. And so thank you very much for the allocation for getting those 2 new buses that'll be running hopefully one of them by the end of the school year, but both of them from the next year, beginning of the next school year. And the new covered gymnasiums, we call them gymnasiums, for the elementary schools. I drive the one by Norlong, and I think, oh my God, it's a big project. It's not just a little thing where you just slap a roof up. I mean, they're digging footings and the whole thing. So that's going to enable us to have a much better physical education program for our health of our children, because no longer will they have to worry. They can't have PE because it's raining. They're in a covered area. The other thing which that'll allow us to do will be during school and or intersessions, we can have the different schools from elementary level play games with each other. Rather than in the past, they would all take 3 or 4 days off school. They would all come to Karor and play games all day long and get exhausted. Now that we'll be able to set it up to where they can have a team from Aimalik can play Melakaok, and they can stay at their schools and play it that way, which is, I think, a really nice thing for the kids and a good way for them to not only get to know one another more frequently, so as to have better interpersonal relationship, but also improve our PE program so that they will be healthier than they are now. Okay. Okay. I think, Mr. Chair, for the future, just we need to continue what we're doing. We need to really begin emphasizing the use of artificial intelligence and what that enables our teachers to do, which they couldn't do before. And very, very grateful to the Ministry of Health and Human Services for allocating a $360,000 portion of their COVID grant for us to bring our internet capabilities up to par, to where now we have plenty of bandwidth and all that computer stuff. All of our students can be on their computers at the same time, and it's not dropping off. So it's that's a big plus for us. And so that's what really has helped turned our programs, with the computerized programs, makes it much better for them. But we need to continue. We're going to have to realize that we have an annual purchase of computer equipment and subscriptions, which the students will be able to use as the years go by. Okay. Well, thank you. I think you ready?
Okay, alo saya kamam saule Dr. Jenkins ra lagi role modal saya kira ngartia marbekla da ngilaigang. Thank you for presenting. We got all of this and they were sent to everyone last week Friday, so they had time to review. So I'm sure they'll be asking you questions. Before we continue, let me recognize Senator Basilus joining us, and also Delegate Sinsak joining us. Maybe he's here with Mr. Udui to provide support. Kita dia mereka sulit ngartian menglima anamni emoklor mulai sel ngartian kata tu. Elal time akmo litrate alle, and I'm going to spend some time with your patients, Dr. Jenkins, and I will share some background information about the ministry, so the members will know what has happened before you came on board, and then that will take us to where we are, and then we'll proceed to the things that you presented with us today. So the tribal time ko tayo lurur nga kamadangin mladura ministry mbol bakatak pa sa aurora ministry mlawang ara ya nomre rakal men mutra 2021 isigil bol clave bol sil rungul osino sing mlawang ara isigil time elang ko umesil gere laklu sel el gotel nganon mi sel el Palau Education Master Plan Review el UNESCO Guild Makli. Amlanya Master Plan na 2006 mo 2016. Esrabol malege kadamle recruiter UNESCO Bangkok office to come and review that master plan. Mitagit selmle review yamle tilo the recommendations still was saying what are the things that are as you can see remaining and emerging challenges for the Ministry of Education. And those things, early childhood, quality education, curriculum and instruction, teachers, school leadership, management, UNESCO review. The UNESCO review was the basis for the new master plan, Education Master Plan 2017-2027. The plan ng master plan all stakeholders were gathered together. So that's the work that was done. Ministry of Education 2017 and 2027. Our regular master plan. Yang aram at time is education statistical yearbook. Migat mo ka ministry. Itegil statistical yearbook omong ulinging blakatak waseng raigel girel. Ministry of Education lo mesel tokoy. Luwal lobod wasa school ngwarang. Emagaram mongin. Aigal ngating aigal tilo the recommendation ng UNESCO. Aigal almost aigal dera ranalga school enrollment, graduation rate, aigal retention rate, promotion rate. Aigal rogol trentingil ranalga school. Ata dulme sa ringim le finding cell cohort graduation rate, cell to ranalga freshman, asum te 18 tel artir ato dra 4 years later at 12th grade. At one time, 65.6% a cohort graduation rate. 65 at over 4 years later. I get a baby the entire yearbook of Mami. I must come again the Rogul there are school, there are attendance rate. I get Rogul assessment scores at school or Mami Young. I get Rogul Trenting at school, Dulmes and Maclo to tell. Say it, Tagidia. Tiagir Babier, Amilgat Mokl, Wabol, Olgai, Raigel, Nara Master Plan, Sikadora Master Plan, and Raigel Measurement Domes, and Gaigil Statistical Yearbook already say. At the arm of the Musel Management Action Plan. At the time, I Minister Mogot Mukli tell was a Tiagil Action Plan, Raigel Mogot Magil Mo, Rel Cell Master Plan, a Gil Long Mukul Tiang. Itagi da measurement to those peri. Akti was a tagil lurior, keep quite tagil yearbook. Teodel at the time in Chief Lulam Larsay, Edwell on room, KCC, those are the people that generate the tagil Babier, out of their ministry. Tagil management action plan, and this all keep credit and more lay titimuna. Bill Gates scholar, a high caliber researcher. Nge amin at mo kartagi dulur. Engul otilo siyang raigel baby ratan tingila at ko el domes, igire la school. Edi nga baby raigel to ko siyang raigel baby ragi agire domes set the student success indicators siyang raigel domes. Enrollment, GPA, attendance, promotion, cohort graduation rate, retention, maayo assessment. So assessment only one part to sell ranglel osang la schools. Ay gida milgat mok lurior. Ay lurior la ministry gudang lil mersal time. So say gida lurior. Now sige na umrek. Now we come back to this report. Let me say this. It's a new administration. They have every right to do anything under the sun. Hindi ka bulgasan girel tirak layang. I want to say girel why say. Lil mo tibir ekut mo cloud redir. Mela take the report ng atyang. Ado masringin. Eso kal dulil wasay. Akatyang emon la say gigil lam gutmok. A+ school breakfast. A+, facilities, A+. air condition classroom. It has to be that way. I get again lam katmok na kamen the report. And I want certain things that are not in here. I want to bring to your attention that I think are needed. The first thing that is not in here that we don't see, there is no articulated strategic plan with clear goals and objectives that the ministry is following, that the management and the principals know that we need to do all of this because we're going there. That has to be there. We have to have a plan. And the plan has to be in place so everyone knows where we're going and how we're going to get there. Seguida, hotel gisang. Number 2, the report, there are student there also. There is no enrollment there. We don't know how many students we had in the 4 years that we ran the schools. Let me share with you one operation or Ministry of Education for the last 4 years, budget-wise. 2021, 9 million some. 2022, 9.4 million. 2023, 9.2. 2024, 11.9. A total of $40,546,700. That's the total budget for the last 4 years. We need enrollment. Not only is attendance rate for the last 4 years, retention rate, dropout rates, promotion rate. Graduate high school for the last 4 years. Graduation rate for those 4 years. Those are some of the essential things we need to see how well we are doing. The report. Another thing that is not in the report, special education program. How many students do we have in the program? We need to pay attention to special education. How many? What are their needs? What data do we know about those students? The information that we need to see are teachers data. How many teachers do we have 4 years ago? What's the trend? Is it going down, going up? What's the teacher-student ratio? We talk about we need teachers. We don't have the numbers to look at those numbers and make decisions. I gave you the very essential information that we need. Another information that is not observed, we touched about that, but it's not enough. Student performance data. For all the content courses. We've heard about English, we've heard about other things. What about math, social studies, science? How are students doing in those content? And unless we have those information, we cannot make decisions, so we don't know how well they're doing. Yes, we share a few things, but we have to collect data and provide data to make informed decisions. A crucial information of how and what we are about to do. So again, plan, student data, teachers data, performance data. We need to have those articulated out to know how well we are doing. Sige dia, adis wakalo sila sa igigida limlak kwestityang, and I want to point that out. Elakala mo raigel bibida information that we do have in the data also otherwise. So yes, we have those numbers there. Again, performance analysis from grade 3 to grade 9. Yes, these are correct. No question there. Then there was soal masal was it tell Iowa. This is the entire data. It's a big data. So yes, those are some data. Data, I only took one page. They give the overall performance data of the entire school system. You look at those, starting with reading. At 2019 in Module 2, it came down and it went up, currently in 32. Written expression, 2019 and 33, it went down and now it's 34. Language, you can see the numbers there. Conventions of writing, 2019 was 37, it went down to 33, 35, 37, 37. Vocabulary, there's the data there. 2019 and 33 went down to 26, 31, 35, 36. For the analysis, you have the data there. Look at mathematics, 2019 and 31, it came down to 23, 26, 28, 26. Computation, 40 in 2019, and there's the trend. Social studies, 34 in 2019, you can see the trend from there. Science, 35 in 2019, and there's the trend. I bring out this result to say that we need to look at all the data. The great things that we are doing, yes, but what are the challenges? And we don't expect to be perfect, but we need to know our strengths and weaknesses to be able to address those things simultaneously. Sige, the sokal oti la sige ang art niya. Second item I want to bring, this is your page. If you turn the page to the difference between a criterion-based and a norm reference test, right here. Yeah, norm reference test, Iowa. It's good for identifying a Yale group, at young self rank lang school, and then it's good for college admissions, scholarship allocations, comparative scenarios. It's good for that. The tegit selwal telgibel weakness or tegil norm reference test. Once a norm reference test assessment have limitations when it comes to tracking individuals' growth or specific skill mastery. A norm reference test tadiakal o tilo siyangal kamla master skills in your classroom compared to the content. On borsel go to you, yung mas disadvantage of norm reference assessment is that it gives little information about what the test taker actually knows or can do or cannot. Measure the student progress or learning outcomes and determine if the effectiveness of curriculum is being achieved. Tial ayagil de tal nga tiang ayawal norm diakal speed lo siangal gam la suba igel gel musuber sel ganten temla master igel skills. Hindi subid lo sa ngal ngal gam wang rangal mor sa igel group pilgida kampel mortir. Master nga siya say self measurement ng tiang percentage na say the use of Iowa academic performance it tiagidel tial result tiang ada kasi ang lawa sensei ilo sa mo ba tiang ebrulo si sa clay tiga ni ringi enda kas prise diakal tell la mastery. It doesn't inform us about how we are meeting the benchmarks. La curriculum lagi. Kita soal OT. On your rule, monitoring. Take the national average score. Tiang assessment Palawan studies, only one test. And make it more appreciated tell assessment. If you look at the scores, it tells us that we need to look at assessment. Ilmotiagid, a norm reference tagay nani, ma criterion reference assessment tagay nani, and make sure tell curriculum lagi. wangara osis a clear mita benchmark. They need to both go hand in hand. Sige tata asakal oti. Ledoba Iowa and jakas spirit la sing wangara achievement tarang ligara mastery ra content skills. El alchils in 4 years e diaga de ir argid la sing wangara omsubet arang alged el mita ikal benchmark at every grade level. Sige tata disto kal tulir gidel segid. Bear with me. Dira ka lang at babier. Ay kita din na sokala ultra sa inigel wal ayaw ngil yes we're doing well. Kita principles ng atiyang. Hindi pa dodongil mas egal result ayaw lome sarang gaskun na dama dila dia kalo tela sa tumlama mudu em badangigel gil badangay content. Kaya next point sokal dulit yamal di point of information. Say letter Dr. Jenkins, you know this letter, in June 21st, 2022, and you know, I did write to you, but say we need for you to figure out a teacher certification, how much do we need there? That was 2022. Sige, say we need to figure that out. Since 2022, I seguido lo ur from the ministry. Ilang mali last point. Dr. Jenkins, when we became the minister, we had the special education office. Today we do not have special education office. Can you please explain why and how did that happen that we do not have the office for special education? The building, yes. Can you please share some highlight on that? I will ask you to answer that before I close. Can you please do that? Yes, please.
The special ed building, which was located very close to the Karor State office, we had no documentation on a lease agreement or any type of agreement giving us the right to use that building, which was fine. We were able to use it. So what we wanted to do, we received a grant of about $200,000, and what we were going to do is we were going to renovate it, and we were going to convert it. And in the how do I put this? In the building, 3 or 4 separate sections of it were going to be used for skills, homemaking skills, community skills, speech therapy, physical therapy. So in order to do that, we took some things out to clear it out so we could do that. And then we came in one day and there was a padlock on the gate. And that day I contacted the governor of Karor and I said, what happened here? And he said, well, we're using that building, you're no longer using it. And I said, well, that's just a misunderstanding, that we are planning to use it, we're planning to renovate it. And he directed me, he goes, well, you have to go to the Karor Public Lands Commission, I believe it is. And so we established meetings with them, and we had several different meetings with them. And they refused to let us go back and have that building unless we paid them $10,000 a month rent. So what we did is we explored other options. There are no other options available. So in our new building, school, which we're planning to build in IRI, there is provision for the new, for special ed rooms, special rooms for the speech therapy, physical therapy, and those. So the sad story is that was a misunderstanding, that once they took the property, they wouldn't let us have access to it again. And we had several meetings, and we tried everything we could do. But they apparently had another use they wanted to use it for. And it was their building. We had no right, that we had a legal right to do anything.
Okay, thank
so
you.
We do have a special ed office, and our special ed teachers are where they belong, in the classrooms with their children.
Thank you. Tigda di sokal smodil girel tial blind ngar terbab. RPPL 3-9. Segidala amle gadam abela Nilusel Programs and Service for Handicapped Children Act of 1989. Tigidala ada ringilu tial act. Di ngar engil segidala. Yak mo iwitiang the national government must provide financial, material, and human resource as well as a comprehensive administrative structure. Selblay, or doom not or, sel time and biak, a better amle coordinator. Itiagid la algirel moni segid ma better am nomstri amle del orior. Yolingit la semegi mo spiritual mo oblara special education. Mutigil ngeti la sego mul mo oblara special ed, e al sugo mo dia mo special ed en gair el mer orior. Tial blay, look at the language. Administrative structure to the children and their families. Selblay ablir arangal gamar parents. Selblay dia kalprokle la ministry. Nodo or el morarangal mar parents. Mungil mlek ordinator rangal masese angal among ngari officer parents ralse. The building is for the students and the parents. Tiagil ngaral na. It's not a good thing when special education students and their families have lost the structure. If you have a medical hearing, you have a sale mosing magram no I say. Electrical mam got or say. Amilat karangal mar family ro speangis. Siguro di sokal point out ngi. Those are the things in the sokal cover. And then take that we'll go down to the Q&A. So mo open ngi mo sira members, if they have questions they can address to Dr. Jenkins, American members, and then other people can ask. Vice President Corte, I know you're leaving. Did you want to have some comment before you leave?
Chair, I actually looked at all the reports, and I have personally spoken to Mr. Jenkins, so I think I've clear in my mind what am I going to do. And if you can excuse me, I have a nursing training that I promised to several months ago, and I have to go and do it.
Thank you, Vice President Corte. Sige, so members, please, if you have questions, kami able si electrical baby ramal kalik sige mo si elogaragi. Senator Pedro, thank you.
Ali, malungil odosong Dr. Jenkins, and thank you for agreeing to the renomination of President Whips. I only have a few questions, and it derives from your response to the committee's questionnaire. That's one of them. And the other two is from the previous report that I reviewed, and I want an update of those things that you mentioned in your hearing from the last. So the first one, my first question refers to question 6 of the committee's questionnaire. And I don't know if the chairman has, I think he had touched this issue, but I'm not clear, so I just want an answer from you. And from your questionnaire, from your response, I see that you were not able to bring data on students' performance in relation to the Palawan curriculum framework, or you didn't send them. So can you briefly explain what is in that curriculum? And And what language, also in relating to that, I just want to ask, what language do teachers speak when teaching in the classroom? If English, explain why. Is it required, or are the teachers unable to speak Palawan? Those are my questions for that. And should I go on, Chairman? Just do the two other questions and then he can answer that. So Dr. Jenkins, the two other questions, one, from on August, on the second question, on August 2021, I see that in the committee report, when you were nominated first time for the Ministry of Education as minister, there are a couple of things mentioned in the committee report, and I would like to hear an update or updates on them. And that, I think the chairman also mentioned it, a little bit of that on teachers, incentives for teachers. And you suggested to implement teachers' contract, 10 months contract based on a salary scale designed for teachers. So can you just update that? Another thing is the relationship between Pala High School and PCC in terms of student graduating at PHS who wishes to pursue vocational training in automotive and air conditioning mechanics. I'm reading from your statements. You suggested that MOE needs to work with PCC to streamline some of these types of professions to enable students to study in specific field of interest. Did you have the chance to have consultation with PCC on this issue? If so, please update. That's about it, Mr. Chairman. So lang ya, Dr. Jenkins.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the questions. And I'm going to try to get everything here. The Palawan Studies curriculum is undergoing revision at this moment. It's been undergoing revision for the entire year. One of the issues which we found when we did the preliminary study as to student data is that when the original, we have a different population than we had. And so what we're finding now that we have a disparate group of students with different levels of Palawan language skills. And what that means is that we have some who are fluent, very fluent. We have some that are not so fluent, maybe lived off in coming back from the States or something, but can understand, or be like me, they can understand, but they're not fluent. And the other is a group that don't speak Palawan at all. Now, the setup for the framework and the curriculum assumes one group. So what we're doing is we're giving an impossible task to the teachers. So what we're going to be looking at recommending would be that we're going to be needing to do sectioning of the Palawan studies, just as we're looking at sectioning other classes, because we have different groups. The other thing would be you may want to consider, do you really need to have people who are coming here for short-term businesses? Do they need to learn to speak Palawan, or can we put them in a conversational Palawan course, something at a different level than what we're doing? So that's the number one thing we have to do. We're redoing that entire framework in order to fit the reality of our society today. So is that okay? That makes sense to you? The second was the curriculum. That's the same thing. We are undergoing the revision of that curriculum because, again, the teachers cannot teach those three different groups in the same classroom. You can't do it realistically. If you're going to be teaching a fluent Palawan and someone who's a non-Palawan speaker, you're not going to do justice to one of them. So that's the other thing we're doing in terms of our curriculum. And at the, as you said, what Palawan is to be spoken in class. In the elementary level, we expect all classes except English to be spoken in Palawan. One of the things which I have noted, and it's a difference between when I came as back in the day, when everybody spoke Palawan and it was nothing but Palawan, and it was 100% Palauan, and it wasn't mixed with, well, it was mixed with some Japanese, et cetera, et cetera. But what I think we're getting is we're getting a hybrid of language, even in the classrooms. I mean, not all of them, but in the Palauan studies courses, they're very, very strict on it. But we need to really work on emphasizing that the teachers need to not use the anglicized version of Palauan, but if they want to teach Palauan, you need to have Palauan. We also need to start doing a lot more outreach group with parents, because, as I said, the language skills are going to be developed between the age of 1 and 5. And if we can get the parents speaking Palauan at home, pure Palauan, that would really help. That would really help the whole process. And again, that's a long-term project. But I've been meeting with Jay Watanabe, who's our chair of this committee, and he's working with the Language Commission as well. So we were going to be working on this and having it done by January, but something's come up and I'm not available. So we're continuing to work on it. That's where we are with that. It's a really important. I feel silly talking to you about this since I'm not Palauan, but I think the emphasis on the maintenance of your language is absolutely critical. And as I have experienced between 1974 and today, the serious degeneration of the language. When I was in the Peace Corps in Ngaramnangui, everybody spoke Palauan. There was no English around, which was, that was it. And now I find my Palauan is getting weakened because everybody here speaks such good English. And it's a tribute to what you've done. But again, it's a balancing act. One of the things which I found very interesting was we have a very strong phonics program in our kindergarten. And the kindergarten teachers were sharing that with some of the other levels, and they said we can use that for Palauan too, which is really good. Although we don't want to confuse them too much, but the sounds are different. But the symbol and the sound relationship is one that we can hopefully use crosswise on that. The other was I was reviewing a master's dissertation, which was written by a Palauan, and the title was Revisiting Education in Palau. And that addresses this kind of issue. Where do we go from here? And I think that's an issue that we need to continue. I think we are hoping to work with the author of that article, who's back in Palau now, to have ideas which we can work on to build up the Palauan Studies class. And the teacher salaries, as the chair, Mr. Chair, as you pointed out, I sent everything to you. I forget when that was, a long time ago, and you reviewed it and sent it back, so that's fine. But the salary scale is one that I just really haven't been able to push through yet, because what I'd be looking at doing would be finding ways, we have to find a way to have our teachers separated from the civil service scale to a certain extent, somehow. There are different options available to us. Because the issue, what we have is when a teacher comes in with a bachelor's degree, they can have 2 bachelor's degrees, they can have 3 bachelor's degrees. It doesn't matter. They're still in that level. And that's sort of the problem we have. And so whereas our salary scale that I've written and proposed, I've had to go back and revisit it a little bit because of the salary increases which have been granted over the past year. So I had to change my figures a little bit. But it will cost probably, if we implemented it fully, immediately, about $4 million in increase in salaries. So that's where that is. I hope to be able to get that together. And so that will be, and so otherwise what it'll mean will be if a teacher comes in and they have a bachelor's degree and they work with courses and they get like 18 credits, then they get a step up and they get more money. So the idea is to encourage teachers to develop their skills, be it in classroom, be it in online courses, be it, that's another thing. Online courses is a whole new area we need to work with, so that they can develop professionally and be rewarded for their development. Right now, they're not rewarded for it. They just do it all, and it doesn't financially rewarded. So that's the other thing, and that I think is a big issue. That's a really good issue, good question. So thank you, Ann.
About PCC relationship with, can you?
Thank you. We have not had a lot of success over there yet. So we are hoping with our intercession program, and we have students who are moving along in the hospitality industry that will be able to coordinate, because I know they've got this beautiful facility, and I don't know, but I've been told it's not used very much. So I hope to be able to work together with them. The issue we have is we want our kids to, when they graduate let's say they graduate in hotel management, we want them to have certification, which we grant to them, which they can then use to get a job. The issue we have is that when they come in, PCC has a 2-year program that they want to use, and that's fine because that's for their level. But if we have a child who's already gone through ours, we want to be able to offer them a certification which can be used for employment, not necessarily used for going into the college program. Okay.
Dear members, hanya question na lang kada open bibilat. Senator Aldabel, please.
The chair. Dr. Jenkins, good afternoon. First of all, I want to thank you for accepting the President's appointment. I understand the past 3.5 years, we have gone through a lot to implement new programs and projects that we were hoping that it will improve our entire education system. Some of which you have mentioned showing success. Some are still facing some challenges. But as the chair mentioned, I like to work with numbers and to use those numbers to kind of evaluate the rate of success for every individual program. So first I want to go to the breakfast and lunch program. I think it's important that you noticed or recognized the need for those students who doesn't have much of an opportunity to take their breakfast early in the morning, so they come to school and take their breakfast. Do you have any kind of data that sort of indicate whether this breakfast and lunch program are having some positive impact to the student learning and also the student attendance? And if so, would you be able to share those data? That's one, and also for the overall school assessments, I like to reflect on what Chairman Tabalwal mentioned about the sort of a strategic plan or a master plan. Do we have any plan or any consideration to formulate a strategic plan or a master plan for education where policymakers like the OEK can sit down with the Ministry of Education and evaluate the performance of education in reflection or reflecting the what you would suggest as a year-to-year plan for the ministry. Maybe I'll stop there and let you answer those two questions, and if there's time, I have a few more.
Good, thank you. Yes, thank you. Actually, we do have all the data on the numbers of students for lunches. I'm sorry, I just don't have it with me. And as far as the impact for the other lunch program, which we now offer, is the lunch for the homebound on Bubble Dub. So what we're working together with the Ministry of Health and Human Services to provide our school lunches for those people at each school, and it's delivered to their homes. So that's another element that will be adding more numbers to us for us to work with. I can be happy. I'll happy to get that to you. The impact on student achievement, the impact on student, let's say, scores was positive. I can't put a number on it. We can put a number on the attendance. Attendance did go up because they were coming to school. And well, we don't count tardiness very well here, being late. But that also improved because they would be in at the cafeteria eating their lunch or eating their breakfast, and so they're right there on campus rather than coming to school in a different way. I saw this particularly at Peleliu, which was an interesting day. You said some kids are up there really early, and other kids come wandering in, with their parents bringing them in, but they're late. But in terms of the impact on the health program, I'm going to be getting with Dean, who does this. He's doing a study, he's our health PE specialist, to look at our student health with the what do we call it, the wellness program, which is going on, so they could give us some more information on that. But in terms of do we get more A's, B's, and C's, I really don't have that much yet. It's a very small number which we have in terms of the breakfast lunch area in Bapeldo. And the master plan, yes, I have relied on the master plan for developing of what we've presented at our transition. But I will confess we need to work on it more and update things because a lot is changing. But I think we've been focusing primarily on a lot of curricular issues and the building issues. Once we have that, maybe we'll be able to focus on this a little bit better. Okay.
Yeah. Going back to the master plan or the strategic plan, I think it's important to, as a country, to have like a standard system of collecting data that helps us evaluate our education system's performance that can be compared with other countries or other nations that with a similar education structure. That way, I think it can give us a better understanding of how well are we doing in terms of implementing our school programs. And I'm saying this because with the change of with the new system change on the year-round program, I would like to see how much of success. I know part of the objective of the school, all year round program, was to try and help identify those low performing students, so the teacher can have a one-on-one assist on those children during the intersession period, to help them catch up with the rest of the students. So. And from what I heard from the principals when we met them, the teachers, there are limited supply of teachers available in Palau, and I think that's the fact. And despite our effort trying to provide more incentives, the number of available personnel to teach are still going to be limited. So from what I got from the meeting with the principals, I feel not only sorry for the principal, the teachers themselves, because they they're going to be overwhelmed, having to spend their break time to try and help those low-performing students during the intersession period, and miss out on the opportunity to spend some vacation time with the family, or do what you call the training, like training for their own personal development. Those kind of opportunity will be limited for them. So we wanted to see whether the number of those low-performing students are shown to be a significant or enough number that justifies the teacher's time to be wasted or to be spent on those students. I like to see those numbers. That's why I like for you to consider maybe if the program is going to continue, let's make some assessment and start collecting some data to be able to analyze progress and success for these projects.
That's a great idea. And what we do right now, I think we need to remember that the teachers are on civil service contracts, and so that their holiday or their pay or their leave is the earned leave. They can take their leave anytime they want. We encourage them to take it during the intersessions if possible, because that's when their kids will be home and things like that. But that's really up to them. What we've asked the principals and the teachers to do is to, at the end of each quarter, submit a list of numbers of students and names of students that think they need extra help and who can handle that. So we are gathering that kind of data now. So I'll be able to get a hold of that and get that to you in the near future, I hope. That's one. The other would be, it's a 3-week program, a 3-week intersession. And I think what we're talking about, some of these issues are scheduling issues. Okay, the teachers don't need to be giving the help all day, all 3 weeks. It can be small group instruction. It can be enrichment activities. It's really what we're trying to do is to broaden the abilities of our kids to experiencing more things. We're not trying to kill the teachers, and so it's totally voluntary at this time, and that we can also. The other thing would be teacher training is also exactly the same thing. We're scheduling that, and that Chief Tabelwal is in charge, and she's really trying to work around so that we're not killing everybody all at one time. And if a teacher wants to take vacation during the intersession, that's not a problem at all. Not at all problem at all. They're not responsible for any particular work during that period of time, other than if there's curricular issues going along. But nobody, if someone says, I want to take this week and go home or et cetera, that's fine. That's not a problem at all. They just have to file the leave form. It's not an issue. Not an issue at all. Okay? But the idea of getting the information on the programs that are being offered is one. I can give you one right now, which costs nobody anything, was our diving program at the high school. We have over 60 students who have their scuba diving certification, and all that was done by outside sources. We didn't use teachers for it. We used qualified divers, SAMS tours, NECO tours, and no cost, because the ministry, Mr. Mathula's minister, was able to help us with funding for that. So that's the sort of the ideal of what we're trying to accomplish with that, is give kids an option to do something which will benefit them in the future, but it doesn't necessarily tie them down and give them homework and all that. Okay? Yeah.
Okay. So, Dr. Jenkins. Senator Rudim, please.
Mr. Chairman, ngunita silsa Mr. Jenkins. Hindi ko lang torbe law. Okay. Take that question, number 1. Sa administration ra Mr. Trump mo recent daigal de USA. Ay nga nga kung mo nga impact ringin mo ra education system na blur belaw. And so mga how much percentage are more affected, and saying mga affected are school, or our programs are well affected. Number two, Chairman Tabro lam lo sabi gidiba meeting magyum lo attend ringi magyum reg sabi bira issues. I think there were very honest comments. Our employees at the Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education. And I think it was a helpful, informative meeting. Thing honest them. Tidak sing, from what I gather. Masya Adam says lower, tungi lower, and Aringa lower. They're all in. They think about the kids, so you're future. The problem is from what I gather, sometimes in one lack of communication. Maybe employees, some makita rin nila say they have been bypassed or overstepped. Malibang daka as a courtesy to communicate with them. Mansum ko bangan tangat mo message mo Minister of Education. What would you do to change? Malibang improve sa gidal blood lang say, improve mang mo awal cohesion for the sake of the kids. Malibang future lang. A system of education na daka at the way because you're the expert, defer to that. The problem is how do you find the people and keep them in the system and demoralized so they can continue their work. Upheavals, complaints. So the two question yeah. Director Sel Domis niya, question number one, I say, at the moment, of total programs that we might overpromise, but you're not sure of the funding source. Siya concern na siya and siya 1, 2, masel 1.5%, number 2. Sula, Chairman.
Yeah, you guys elected Trump, so, you know. No, actually, right now, all of our funding from the federal government, which is going to amounts to about $3 million a year. 1 million is for general education. 1.2 is for special education. And then we have several smaller grants would be for career, personal development, etc. All of those, we have money in the bank. So he cannot take any of those and stop it because our timing on that was in July. So we got the money, so we're good for now. I just received yesterday a note from the Department of Education where they had scheduled a big meeting between all of the states and everybody, their annual meeting for next month, and that has been postponed until they, as their words say, until they can work out their leadership, or if they're going to have. Now, the issue of whether or not the Department of Education will remain or not is something that we need to look at, but it's not a crisis for us right now, because according to the law, my understanding is he cannot eliminate the department without a 2/3 vote from the Senate, which he does not have. So that's one issue. Right now, it's just everything has been paused, and that the new Secretary of Education basically has her instructions to close the education down. And what they would plan on doing would be the grants would be going through other secretaries. For example, one would go maybe through Health and Human Services, but the Ministry of Education will disappear. Our grants, we have an individual person who's our grantor within the Ministry of Education. So as of now, that person still exists. And so, but until right now, we're okay until July. But we're going to be meeting, there are going to be meetings scheduled soon to determine what do we do, because we need to get our proposals. Now, our proposals are they're very sound. We have very good ratings with the current grantors and good relationship with them. We did have one problem, which I want to remind the Senator Chair about when it comes to special education. You know, we were in a state of non-compliance, and that was bad. And so we were looking at possibly losing that grant. So we're now back in status of compliance. But in order to do so, we had to make significant changes. And some people were not really happy about those. But those are changes that had to be made by the law, by the requirements of the OSIP, the Organization for the Special Ed. Okay? So as far as Trump goes, I hope he will come out and go diving and fall in love with Palau and give us all the money. But basically what I understand from what they're trying to do is they're trying to have a much closer supervision on what those grants are being used for. They're very upset about states and using grants of large amounts of money to do things which they don't feel are educationally sound. We have no problem with any of that. Our programs are very solid. They're very much directed toward direct education of our children in those different areas. So we're okay, I think, for now. But the whole future, it's all up in the air right now.
Is that, Chairman, is that in there for the next 90 days? Or how, when you're not sure how long for the rest? So it depends on the Mr. Trump on what he's going to do with his.
That will depend on his executive order. He cannot touch our money this year. So he can't put a pause on our money because our money already, we have it.
For your money this year is up to September?
Up to July.
Up to July only?
Yeah, July 1. And then that's when we have our reapplication. So we go from a July to July.
That fund, is that how many, is that for employment or for school books? What is that fund used for?
The general can be used for almost everything, in terms of books, attending conferences. There's a lot of different things we can use it for. And luckily for us, during COVID, we had a relationship that we were able to we had a significant amount of money in our general education grant for travel. And since all our airports were closed and there were nobody flying, we asked to redirect that and use it for faculty development. And that's how we're paying for those degree programs. They agreed to that. So that's a good thing. But I'm saying that basically, as far as the pause should not affect us, but and the other would be that all of the special education people, they are not in the civil service system. They are exempt employees. That's something we need to be concerned about. I don't think it's not a concern in terms of budgetary issues, but I think it's in terms of, everybody's nervous right now. And so we just don't know any more than what I've just told you. I just got the letter today.
Okay, so Chairman, so Mr. Jenkins, so if they cannot touch the money up until July, so you're pretty sure of that. What's going to happen after July? What's going to be the impact on the money? And if you become minister, how would you deal with that? What would be the impact if the money is not ready by August forward?
I think between now and obviously as soon as possible, once all this time, when the turmoil dropped down, we need to go there to Washington D.C. and meet with our ambassador and to meet with President Trump and to meet with whoever the Secretary of Education, because we're in a different category than they are. A lot of what they're talking about is U.S. and we're not. We're kind of U.S., but we're kind of not U.S. So we're in a different category in some ways, but they need to be aware that our funding is being used in educational ways, and we have all that documentation for them. They review it on a quarterly basis, so everybody they have all that information, but we want to make sure that we're not going to get grouped into the Venezuelan bisexual group of educational programs. We don't want, we're not in that one. So I think we'll be okay. But again, it's going to take some time and it's going to take some effort to get there. And I'm sure I think it's going to require some of the upper levels, such as presidents, and to get there and to talk to these people.
Can you briefly explain what happens if there's a delay of funds for August, September, October, November? What would happen to what would be the immediate impact?
If there's a delay, I
The
don't think
pause
it would
would
affect
continue.
salaries. I think salaries we're all right on. The danger would be in our continuing subscriptions for materials and textbook type materials, which are no longer. We've got to get out of our minds that textbooks are no longer always books. There'll be subscriptions to online services. Yes, those are the sort of things that I would be concerned with. Although I'm sure we've worked with the vendors before, and if there's a problem, I think we can probably work things out. But losing $3 million is a lot of money, and so it'll be an issue for us to address in terms of what we can do to ensure that we continue with that. I don't think we'll have any problem with the special ed. The special ed, I think, that's kind of one of those topics that nobody wants to. I don't think even Elon Musk would want to mess with that. So, I think that's going to be secured. But the others, I am a little bit nervous about. Oh, the overworked teachers. It's interesting because the data doesn't support that we have a teacher shortage. We have. Let me. I'm sorry I didn't put it in the report because I didn't have
Mr.
that.
Jenkins, let me restate my question. The question was not about the teacher shortages. It's about the communication with your instructors, your principals. They lamented that, they say, of course, they have to follow the rules. They have to follow the direction of the national direction on education. How would you improve the communication process so they don't feel like they were left out or pushed aside or stepped on? Because that's what I heard of. Because they're there to do the work. I think I didn't hear any complaints about. It's national direction. So the management, so you create cohesion, maybe more cooperation, maybe less demoralized employees. How would you improve on that?
I think with the principals and the teachers in our new, we reorganized the structure because I found when I first got there I wasn't allowed to talk to teachers, which I think is kind of difficult, and that I shouldn't go to campus without making an appointment. That was something that made it kind of hard for me to deal with. So what we have now is we have the principals have a direct line to me. They don't have to go through anybody if they want to talk to me. Now they can call me on the phone, and we are in direct communication. The teachers communicate directly with the principals, and if they don't understand what they're getting, then they can come directly to me as well. And they're in the middle of the system. They're not off to some corner. They're the most important people in the system. So I think the communication was, and this may have been left over from our earlier days when I was coming in and I was implementing these initiatives, and I didn't have the time or the understanding how much they didn't know what they were. I think I overestimated our ability in technology because I was told that during the COVID we were doing online teaching, which I think made me feel like we were really comfortable with technology. And then as we implemented these new programs, I found out we were not comfortable with the technology, and we needed work on that. So we have made adjustments to that. So the other way would be we need to find more ways for me to meet with faculty members, to go out to the schools and meet with them with their faculty meetings. That's another way of doing it. I recently just asked, we have a monthly meeting with the principals, and I asked them if they would rather have that meeting without me being present. And they said, no, they want me there, which that was a surprise to me, but kind of nice because they want to be heard. And what we're also trying to do is we're trying to empower them. And I think that's been a bit of a transition for them, that materials and supplies which were going to be ordered used to have to go through a ridiculous number of people before we would be able to order them. And I've cut all that out. So if the teachers give what they want to the principal gives that directly to my AO, and we get it for them. If the principal has approved it, then we get it for them. We're not reviewing that and saying, you can't have this because you have one stapler already. That's their decision. That's what they're the leaders of that school. And so it's important for them to be able to make those decisions, which we support those. Now, of course, if it's a $5,000 car, that's a different matter. But for the regular materials and supplies, which fits into their budget, then that's how it works. And we found that since we've done it this way, all materials and supplies they get them in time. It's not being held up any longer.
Chairman Tawalwal, one last question on the Palau language. As an educator yourself and world traveler, do you see the value of the language of Palau being taught in schools? What value do you see, and how can you articulate it to the students or teachers? How do you incentivize anybody to continue that and make it a fixed subject in schools and help people understand it for the sake of Palau?
I don't think you can overemphasize the importance of your language. I studied under a linguist, S.I. Hayakawa, and he came with it's called the Worthian hypothesis. And the Worthian hypothesis says your language determines your reality. In other words, as you grow, as you develop as a child, you learn certain words to describe things around you. And that makes you who you are. For example, the Palauan has how many words for coconut? Like 1 million. English has 1. So you see them differently than we see them. And that's critical. And as someone who has tried to learn Palauan and find out that it's really difficult. It's not difficult other than I can listen to a conversation and I can understand every word that's being said, and yet I have no clue what you're talking about because you guys have a common shared experience of a person or a place or a thing. So that's something which you should never want to give. You cannot give that up. And that's why we really need to emphasize, and I don't mean, I had an interesting discussion with Niraklang in 1970 something or other. And a plane flew over, and not that, Maso. Sorry, Rupak. That a plane flew over, and he said, "Yeah, look at this, basta skogi." And I said, "Why are you using the Japanese word for skogi? Why don't you have a Palauan word for it?" And so he said, "No, what would you call it in Palauan?" And he was really a funny guy, really wise. And so I thought for myself, well, why don't you call it Masira Soewa? And he said, "What is a machine?" So I think that that was just a really good lesson in the complexity of language, and that as you adopt English or Japanese or other words into your language, you may not realize what you're doing. Because what I hear in a lot of conversations now is Palauan, with English, and it's an easy thing to fall into. And especially in Koror. I mean, since I spend most of my time in Koror, my Palauan is getting really bad because everybody speaks English. And so that's, I think somewhere along the way, you guys, the determination must be, we get messages from the Palauan Language Commission written in English. But I understand that because they're coming to me and they're being very kind, it's generous. But I think that there has to be somewhere along the way of, and the schools, and we are certainly involved in this in a direct way to find ways to get Palauan spoken properly. And it's not that, this is funny for me to be telling you this because, it's awkward for me. But that's something that I think we really need to have addressed as a, because it's your society, it's your culture. And when you see how the culture's changed over the past 50 years, and then that's not necessarily a bad thing, it just is. But in terms of language, that's a huge thing to give up. It's huge.
So, Senator Rodim, actually, time ako adiwangan mo ang magpunggit mong Maria Carrera ade direkal to ko o message mong Maria. Senator ngi bang.
Saura tele chairman usubesen yak member ending I have to leave in about 15 minutes. Malakarir tel kere minister ng kuram tar basul a minister a Dr. Jenkins. I appreciated your comment on Palawan studies. And this is just a comment. And I think the ministry really needs to look at how do we treat temporary residents. For example, children of contract workers, children of professionals that are here short term, which will never use Palawan ever again in their lives, and yet they're coming into our system at level 0 and affecting the learning of our own children who need to continue to move up. So I think I appreciate your comment on that, and I appreciate the ministry looking at that and how to address it. My question is this sheet. And I'm looking at the public schools data year by year, the Iowa assessment test. And I appreciate the fact that we're doing this annually now and we can see trends. So my question is in relation to a trend. We can see that reading, written expression, language, convention, conversation of writing, I don't know what this one is. Conversational writing, vocabulary, word analysis, and listening there was a dip, but the trend is moving up. And I appreciate the hard work that our schools, our principals and teachers are putting into making those numbers happen the way they are. My concern is 3 of them I didn't read. Mathematics, social studies, and science. They've either flatlined or some of them have seen a decline. So my question to you is, if you are confirmed and become minister again, what's your plan to create the same picture across all subject matter?
Okay, thank you. That's a problem that's driving me crazy. Math. When I came in math, and I think it was Senator Kabelwala, you were talking with me one day, and you told me about the number of kids who went to PCC and they never graduate. And that was a long time ago.
Yeah, let me just expand. At the time, the ministry was looking at the outcome data. We said we need to shift from output to outcome. So do I say output? Ministry level all the mura tilati lobd tilam na graduate. Outcome was it trigger na graduate telar tira mo daingak telar tira mongil. Sige the outcome. So we went to check with PCC initial assessment. Again, ngaralay titim went to look into that. We found that 90% of our kids, or almost more than 90%, go to PCC, but only 67% graduate. So we know that we need better preparation and all of that. So that was that conversation. Then you can pick up from.
Thank you. I'm glad you remembered that, because the issue is we were asking people to teach things that they couldn't do, and it's not their fault. We were asking teachers with maybe a high school degree to teach 8th grade mathematics, which is a pre-algebra course. That's hard. I met with the, when I first saw that, after we spoke, I met with our coordinator and I said, what's wrong with our math program? Because our math program should be really good because our computation is strong, but everything else is not so good. And she had no answer to it. So I looked, and we have the Singapore math, which is a different system, and we go from Singapore math all up through 8th grade, and then we switch to an American system. And so I think we're looking at, that's part of our curriculum revision and looking at the framework of structure, is that the way we want to go? We also found that we were using the wrong book in the 6th grade. Somehow that had been overlooked by the people of who's the consultant we had in those days. The consultant missed it completely. That there are 2 options and we had the wrong option. So we were having a disconnect at that grade from 6th to 7th grade. That's been fixed. We have lack of knowledge of how to teach mathematics. And so we're working on it. And the way which we're working on it is we're, again, departmentalizing. And again, we're going to be looking at trying to get different courseworking for the students. You can't expect everybody in the 8th grade to do algebra. That's not realistic. You need to have different pathways for them. So that's the approach. And that's why the math is one of the top areas for revision that we're looking at. Science is the same sort of situation in that not the material-wise, we didn't have materials. I was in Kyangal and I was talking to the teacher, what's your biggest problem? And they said, it's our science books. And I said, show me one. It was 2002. Okay, so that was a problem. Now that's been taken care of. We now have new books, but again, what we had to do is we need to go reach out. We have tremendous resources here. We have Pickrick. So we're working with Pickrick now. They have an educational outreach person. And I met with Roxanne and all of them to come and help us design some new science courses for us. Because we don't have any science course that deals with marine science. Now, living in Palau, we should have that. And so we're gonna incorporate that into our curriculum. So those sort of changes are coming. At the math, we've had some limited success with some of the JICA volunteers, but the JICA volunteers' ability in math is limited, and not because of their math ability, but linguistic. It's just limited to what we can do. So I'm hoping we're going to be able to take care of this by the departmentalization and also by use of some computer-assisted instruction to where we can have students be able to do it with the teachers, not necessarily there. I was in an algebra class, in fact, at the high school, and it was a great class. Teacher was doing a great job. And what was really neat about it, and I had forgotten all about it, is that there were, on the wall, there were some faces, and those were our online kids from Kyangal, Peleliu, and Engar in the class, virtually in the class, and they could communicate. They were talking back and forth. The teacher could actually look at their papers, and I think that's another issue of way we can help, because we're losing too many kids because we don't use technology enough.
Saule, Senator, maybe let me just make some points. Sa igil question ako. Igagid result ra ayawa. Alborwap mal video. Indakalol hotel skills ra mastery ra content. It's a norm reference test.
No. It has the content. Yeah. We get breakdown. Oh, I'm sorry, Senator. We have a breakdown. And maybe we just don't give you that copy. We need to give it to you, which goes all the way down to individual students and individual students' item analysis for every single test. So I guess it's our fault. So I'm sorry, we're not giving you that information. But all of the principals and the teachers get that information.
Hold on one second. Hold on. you have in front of you a reference of the difference between a norm reference test and a criterion reference test. Let's not get into a debate on that. Norm reference test does not give you the data of the skill mastery of a content. So I just want to clarify, Tegil Toy, move on lang, di ka time, di information ang armad mo. Di aigal norm reference test, adi akalol hotel seg mla master skills sa content. I want to make that very clear. So Maria, next question, ito por say time adi maral mo. Yes, Senator Mlaidi.
Sulang Chair, Malungilita Silse, Dr. Jenkins. I've been listening to the questions and answers. I have no questions with regards to your qualifications and experience. But there's a big issue that looms all over Palau that I hear nobody talk about, and that is the substance abuse and drug issue. What is the ministry's, or what has been the ministry's policy on drug abuse among staff, teachers, and students? Can you inform us of the policies in place?
We have done some random drug testing, and that has worked out well. When you're talking about just for staff, faculty, staff, or for students? Okay, everybody. We've done some informal evaluations among the principals as to what the issues are, and it's pretty clear that there's a marijuana abuse by our kids. The other would be we need to look for the ice and those sort of drugs. There seems to be common knowledge among the kids as to where it is and how they get it, if they want to get it, and who has it. That's frightening to me. So what we're looking at is, and again, this is something we were hoping to address this month, to having a committee which would be Ministry of Health and Human Services, Justice, and the Ministry of Education to address this thing in our schools. I mean, and you can't just have someone come in and say, don't use drugs. It doesn't work. I think the main thing that we want to try to address, and I spoke to some students about this recently, well, not a while ago, was the strongest influence on middle school and high school students is their peer group. If their peer group is using drugs, they're going to use drugs. If their peer group is not using drugs, they're not going to use drugs. So what we're trying to, I try to identify those students who are leaders to begin looking at that role that they can fulfill. We had one of our counselors actually had a program about 3 years ago, I think it was, or no, 2 years ago. And it was for kids would come in and they learned how to become counselors, junior counselors, to talk to kids about things. Maybe that's something we need to approach. The adult way of telling, having a policeman come in and tell, that would work with little kids. With high school, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It has to come from somebody that they want to value them. So that's their peer. That's their group of kids that they work with. So that would be what my basic thought, philosophical, where we need to come from, and how we address that in the schools.
Sulang Toktang. I didn't hear much of a plan, but just observations of what things are right now. But it's an issue that we need to collectively work on as leaders. The other question that I have is, and you mentioned this in the upgrading of the classrooms to being air conditioned, and so that in addition to the renovations of the school, and that renovations of the school is important now because of little to no maintenance that we had in the past. What are your infrastructure maintenance plans with regards to all of these infrastructure that you have moving forward if you're approved by the Senate to be minister?
We're going to make you do it. No, Ray has done a remarkable job in going through these things, and his background, I think, has given us a very good start. But I think what we have to do, and we have to all address this, was we're going to need to have a regular maintenance group. We don't have that. We don't have anybody who would even regularly empty our trash. I mean, that's how loose it is. We've not funded that. The kids clean the classrooms, et cetera, et cetera. The bathrooms are cleaned by someone once in a while. But in terms of major repairs and things, that's where we're looking at the future of the schools. I believe is going to be going with new schools. One in IRI. For example, we looked at IRI, and the cost analysis to renovate that school was almost as much as it's going to cost to build a new school. But then the new school doesn't mean you don't take care of it, but it gives you a good start. Because the schools we have are, it's tough to fix them. I've been in the bathrooms, we've tried to do this and that, and it just doesn't, it's difficult because, number one, we don't have the parts, and we don't have the wherewithal, the manpower to go in and fix them, and we need to address that. And I know Ray's working on that. He's developing a plan of what we're going to be doing over the next few years with that. So, but with the ultimate desire would be to build new schools, because the new schools are going to be technologically ready, and they're going to be safer, and they're going to be easier to maintain than what we have now. Because we have schools that have windows that don't go all the way up. I mean, I got a call one day where we had to cancel school because it rained, because there was no window that went up. The window only went halfway up, and that'd been for years. We hadn't sealed it. I mean, and that's our fault. That's really our fault. We have not maintained the buildings, and we need to really fix it. So I know we spent $3 million so far on these renovation projects, and we have another $3 million coming down. So that's $6 million, not out of our budget. It's out of gifts from our friends to get things looking they're not pretty anyway, but to make them at least safer and cleaner. But we can't, like with all this, we can't just stop. We have to have a plan to maintain and continue onward.
Yes, Doctor, I want to see that plan developed and funding for it allocated, because we cannot continue to build a new school in IRI. And I was part of the planning process on your side of this, in the K-12 school in SR, which is kind of hanging. But if it happens and we carry the culture now to those infrastructure, then we're going to have the same problems down the road. So preventive maintenance, both crew and plan, has to go hand in hand. I just wanted to emphasize that. So long.
We need to get people who can do the work on our staff, rather than always contracting it out or coming over and bothering Public Works.
Okay, Saula Senator Mare, Saula Toktang, Senator Inabo, Udumre Terce Dok Tupetiani.
Good afternoon, Dr. Jenkins. First of all, I would like to thank you for your comment on the Palawan curriculum. And I think we should be very concerned with the loss of our language. We have young children who cannot speak Palawan. They don't even understand. And please help us with where to start. Like maybe the Head Start program should be all in Palawan and not have English in those areas. So please help us with that, and how do we even start to require Palawan language in our school. My question is about the Babaldao School. What's going to happen when that school starts, and what are you, as if you're a minister, what are you gonna be doing with that school, and how will it change the Babaldao school system? And what kind of change in the budget are you anticipating? My second question is about math, engineering, technology, and science. You know, that's an area that any country needs enough people to have knowledge in those areas to make sure the development continues. And my question is about the teachers who are teaching those areas. And usually they're foreigners, and a lot of time the students do not understand the language. There's a language barrier. So what would be your plan about faculty development and growth and training to have more Palawan teachers teaching in those areas to help our students grade get better? And you know, with the AI and technology advancement in the world, you need to have a lot of basic stuff in those areas to be able to deal with the world today. So would like to know what are your plans about that. Sulang.
Oh, thank you. The getting with Head Start, how we can help. We're actually, our special education program, we're expanding it to include infants. So I'm not saying that's the solution, but it's kind of a way of us getting to work with Head Start. The problem with Head Start is that they're roped into a curriculum, and I think sometimes that makes it difficult for them to adjust to the local norms, because the curriculum they have to use has to be that federal curriculum. We ran into this problem with the kindergarten procedures. So I think it's something that can be overcome, because it's a matter of indigenous rights, which I think would be a good way of approaching with the Head Start people in Washington, because I think that would be a way of having it done. The other problem is that all our teachers need to be Palawan, and if you look at the science and mathematics, we have 2 Palawan teachers at the high school in that area. The rest are not Palawan. And so but yet when we look at the career goals of the kids, large numbers of them are interested in those scientific fields. So it would be what we're hoping to be able to do would be, in the short term, be able to get some of our teachers trained to be able to give instruction in the science and math. We're not talking about going into, astrophysics or something along in that line. We're talking about the basic math skills of the kids up into perhaps Algebra 2, maybe pre-calculus, or definitely statistics. The other thing which we would like to be able to do on that is use outside resources. There are some institutions that are maybe interested in helping us, both with online instruction in math. Some of the colleges or the universities in Taiwan have interested in linking up with us because our timing is similar. There's only an hour difference, and so we can have either their high school or college professors help teach our students computer technology. That's what I think we need to get much more involved in. That we've got the rooms, we've got the computers, we've got the internet. We just don't have the program yet, and so we are working on that. There are a couple of novel ideas that we can look at trying, if we can find someone who can handle a little bit of computer coding. And so that would be a short-term instruction. But the long-term would be, we really need to get more meat into our science and math curriculum. That it's pretty much this algebra, geometry, algebra 2. No choices, that's what it is. And that's not for everybody. But we need some higher level so we can get students with the advanced placement program in the science field and math fields. But it's going to take time, and it's going to take money. We're going to have to pay them. I was just looking at the salaries for people in Guam and Saipan. It's $60,000 per teacher. That's the way it is. It's 95 if they want to go to California, but who wants to go to California now? But there are issues that we need to address. But I think we can recruit people. I believe that, because I think we have not been able to write the right format for it yet, the right media, and to let people know. I used to recruit in Iowa in December. It's really easy to get people to come out to the Pacific Islands from Iowa in December because it's freezing back there. But that's not a Palauan. What we need to find a way is to find the Palauans who are educated and want to come back and offer them compensation that would fit their skill level. I mean, it's all going to come down to money sooner or later. Our starting salary is going to be, all going well, $20,000 a year. Now it's 30 some odd thousand in Guam, and it's 50 some odd thousand other places. It's really we're not, but we can offer other things. That's what we need to look at addressing. Maybe with our new high school, we are hoping to include in that high school housing, so that the faculty will be able to live there. That will be that's a big perk for teachers to be able to not have to pay rent or anything along that line. And as far, but for the STEM, and we're almost reversed. Most of our STEM students are female. In the rest of the world, it's reversed. They're almost all male. So we have some interesting differences, but we have to do something to find our teachers who can teach those advanced skills. That's going to take us some time and some money. I'm sorry, that's not a very good answer, but that's
Thank you, Dr. James Aule, Senator Inabok. Senator Nakamura Mlania. So, thank you.
Sulang Chairman, Dr. Jenkins, sulang dingulo kulo tokor belawe. Adaka bengan tokor belal adaka tokor belal boy kal tokor Amerikel aklamo bra Amerikel mudinga sing atim di dakal ulil. Kade batembe ka makmalas mal sul wala Google akira kora set up ra gil fax sul gumbalangin den o kira ka question. So I guess aware po rigel mal kora tela question ni kami Google ka sira long do ur ka tanga ka senator Rudim those other cell gel financing el ngaram rigel el may akora ang ka kring sal maseng ngarinya bibilang ngarinya individual donor ngari India. Individual donors and yeah.
We have what are called the grantors, but they're not individual donors. They are the people who work at the ministry or the Secretary of Education who oversee our grant.
I see. Okay, all right. Sulang. Hindi ako din kasi ako sa kamitil amis ka hindi kung ano babel global usul 2019 Management Action Plan ra Ministry Education al nga ringi ay gel dudula sing student success indicators. Ko remember gel student success indicators. Let me just give you some enrollment, GPA, attendance, promotion, cohort, graduation, retention, Iowa assessment. Say the 2018 say map evaluation report. Sing other Ministry of Education to sparing it. It says here 2018, comment. 2019, 2018.
Okay, clarification.
I'm sorry.
Say the map that was done in 2018
Yes.
when we were over there. When we left, I don't know later on what happened with that.
I see.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I just want, when I moved into the office, I had zero.
Okay, zero, eh? Okay.
I mean, no computer, no files, so it was,
Melangi malwaise sel dudula sel odol tira katjagi del map ngaligi the student success indicators enrollment, GPA, attendance, promotion, cohort graduation, retention, Iowa assessment. Again ngungil indicator.
they're good. We have all that information. We're just not very good at publicizing it.
Or publicizing.
Yeah, the information is there. The only difficulty we have is that some of the student data was kept on an old system, and so in bringing in that system into our new system, we're not able to get everything finished yet. But I hope to have that finished by the end of this school year.
I see. Now, the debate hadi ko ulmolme, Chairman. Well, we get a question. This is one statement mula si Article 6 of the Constitution of Belao require a national government to take a positive action. You have to national government take an affirmative action, affirmative step. Dahil lang oklero nila si ngara education ngara to spe ang tingasong sa ngarang gidil actively gedosi kasi magarada help para education help para ngaligid. Okay? Siya ngara ko tumilala. Mas scout kaya personal experience na kan I hope amadinga sa betul parents o si experiencing itil mga personally nga niya fa ba nga ligay betul kortira di kay si siya career Maurior sel mo beta bro Maurior gi memre gi mo mok lo lakal ya maamba mer kalo mungur ya 7 dori ito klak nga ligay da wala ba homework kalme sel me parents sa karakter maybe lat kuktumi most of the time maybe la most of the time makas karakter mangora mo dia kungil losis aklia ang aligay. And then mo to the report card rin sel me nga disappointed ra nga kaladim la kungil el spender sel time reklam nem titul manager temek question nga le kor ka omngit tel mo minister should we think as a policy la blur bela lo no serar nga ligid le constitution ri gidak mo loise na mo gida delom dasura flexibility na working hours for parents mar other lawyer namo time mo das sem namo gida delom dasura compressed the work time mandel mo dusti ko blakar mi lawyer sel friday ko marchet te kera ngal gi mi sem labil obami oskum udesyo obam minister sem namo time gida delom das wigi.
I love that idea. Education has always known our kids are not awake at 8 o'clock. And we've always wanted to shift to a later date, especially for the older ones. But the argument has always been, but that's the parents have to go to work and they've got to do this and they've got to do that. I'm not sure how the legal way to do it would be, but it would be to a great help for us if we could just start our schools later in the day and maybe coordinate. I think one of the things people need to understand with the year-round school, there's a lot more there's a lot more flexibility in what can be done with your calendar than with the older system. So it'd be because, well, and I also think that what you said earlier is that it's really valid, is that it's hard right now for parents or grandparents who are raising children. They're tired. They're old. They're tired, and kids are hard work sometimes. So I think if anything we can do to give people working more flexibility, That would help us a great deal because one of the things we have is we have one school that's overpopulated. It's Corral Elementary School. And people send their kids there because it's convenient. They work here, they drop them off, they pick them up, they drop them off. And yet, if we could get those populations changed a little bit, we'd have better teaching conditions and better school systems for the kids.
Yeah, so I guess the answer to my question from you is that, yeah, I think it's time for us to rethink about how we can help the parents to help their children by giving them some flexibility, right? Okay. When I was a young kid, from kindergarten to third grade, I didn't know how to read or write. I think majority of us. I remember going to school back then by the way, I'm a public school student all the way to Palay School. I remember going back to, during that time, not going to tell you how many years ago, but I'll tell you that those initial 4 to 5 years of attending school, now looking back, those teachers were trying to make sure that I was a good kid, that I had good character, that I had good habits, that will be with me until I'm an adult, that I would be able to sit down and read and figure out the solution or the problems for a specific question. And I say this because now, with technology, I see a lot of my kids who my personal kids who have no sense of or are struggling with reading comprehension because what they do is just, Google, AI now. It's a different problem, but my main question is the Ministry of Education still using or teaching or sort of grading, because back then we were graded E for excellent, S for satisfactory, U for unsatisfactory. To really teach the kids, because sometimes I think that whether there's no perfect educational system, but if you give the child the character and the quality traits that child can make it receive and then use that as they grow up, and I'm talking about character traits like simple stuff like able to sit down and analyze something and focus on something. Because I know up until now, 2025, that Japan is still using that system. So, question is, are we still, because I didn't see it in your report, and I didn't see it in all of these reports, the character building of that child. And I'll end by saying that I have an uncle who used to tell me that if you're faced with hiring two people, one is very educated, one is not educated but humble and able to learn, hire the uneducated one. So I'll give those to you, and then I'll have a last question that I would like to ask you.
I think your criticism is valid. There is no mention of character in there. We do continue at the elementary level to have assessed those characteristics. I think that maybe we're getting away from it a little bit, and part of that is because we have a dual responsibility according to our mission statement, that a Palauan child will be successful in Palau and the outside society. And that's a lot. But I think the issue would be this. With the kindergarten through third grade, those are basically thematic. In other words, they're themes, like family, friends, right, wrong. And so those are things which would be much easier for us to incorporate on a daily basis for the kids. not just a lesson to learn, but behaviors. And I think it's a really good point that maybe what we need to do is take a step back and ask some of the Rubaks and Maasas to come and help us with this, because that's what we really need. Because if you look at the different generational things now, they had it figured out. They would have dinner together, they would tell stories together, and this is all in one generation. And now that doesn't happen any longer, or doesn't happen as much, I think, I'm afraid. So those type of character traits are really cultural traits that we might, we need to start looking at kind of bringing back into the fold on an equal footing as to other things in the schools.
Then finally, there's a nominee that came here and asked him this question. I said, what would be, what was your greatest accomplishment in the last 4 years that you're proud of? Hindsight is 2020. If there is, well, it's something that if you could turn back time and change it 4 years ago, whenever you first became minister, you would change it, and why? If there is.
I think the thing that I learned most is I need to really listen. And sometimes it's hard to listen when you think you know the answer. But that the thing which I'm proudest of is that 3.5 years ago, the principals wrote a letter to the editor, to the world, to get rid of me. Now we're one team. And I think it's because I've learned what I need to do to help them. And in some cases, they've learned what to put up from me, because sooner or later, they're going to see the results. And I think that's what, if I had to do it all again, I would be more Palawan when I started.
Sula, Chairman.
Okay. Saule Senator Nakamura, the clarify cell Tokora character, take the master plan 2017-2027, educate the whole child, mind, body, and heart, develop academic, career readiness, character, health, wellness, and arts. Ngartiang, Tokora character. Sige ta, this one clarify say. Senator Basilius. Senator Masa ready mo pun belakang ko pala ko next. Senator Masa please.
Sula chair ini talial sil se Dr. Jenkins. Undas yang man namo blatak kalwasing deka questioner gidra ko kaklaw matingera kau mata amraw yor. Kau tell nakmal appreciate your honesty. No ay salwasya taram ni elit atum am titulo rings. Malubang modya kal suam loreng sila komda sula siya mal di madura at tokoy ma udaswirar ada bebiling modya kal morengs. Akbaduli se me toktang kamlo mulo ay sila gel batokol kora achievement ra MOE mang blakatakal kadamal aplade o yang cook efforts ra kau as a minister ma arangalela Ministry of Education. Ding selbe birata me toktang kada mesrah malungil building ma talikrela ko malungil andi internally ngari nga igel batokol challenges daka beldum maluban daka bototangi taringi tay gidel dilil wase ngora communication nya Senator Rudim amlo touchery diswakal mo oy wait tal nga pa bilinge me minister wase the Ministry of Education and Schools exist for the benefit of the children. A Ministry of Education maskura balur belaw ang aringi ilgire laklung yolir arang legit. I think that just sums it all. Pebirata the mua iday, pebirata mga managerial decisions of the May. El bebil ka mo di the questioner gidal wase. Is this for the benefit of the children? Al ubeng kung may sel decision because tilom daso la setya mo ngil mortir. So appreciate sa gida statement. Ongerung kadal mutal mortal wal mlelo dal ministry ma raglela school system rabulur belaw. Kasi unfortunately it took you 3.5 years. Lo day madrang rak medale warak. Ikukol amal aswal was ngaraygel mal bil katak ngar ali raaf. Mangaraygel understanding of our roles and how we can work together for the benefit of our students. Igel bil katak ngar ali raaf. Emlomal aswal was makaras edat makalurior. Algire laklug ni oli aligit. Again, keywords, benefit of our students. Ma mokmurul waisel kulus persel exam gulu ay sila sa komla procure PSL tabri arangal gura hexagon wal gura promote integrate sira arangal kal mutmak at adu in a group setting kayurengs kausis ak ya omusubam la o til wasing ta suba patok es il mongil ngal rasku maktila tuli seleng pasing asab elsel gura mo ngari ngay gidal titwol those pairs say not necessarily procure chairs for the management team or whoever, but use that analogy. We need to somehow come together and collaboratively listen to each other and provide the ideas on how to solve our challenges, which we all know it cannot happen overnight, but at least hear out the people who are on a daily basis, la say gagita challenges sa kamam, nagyolingit lo si makarasa ba edat mak, lo rol giri na lang aligit. Sulang.
Saul, did you want to say something before we move on? Thank you, Senator Masaw.
Yeah, no, I think yes. No, I really appreciate that because the longer I've been in education, the more I've come to that belief. It's all about the kids. That's the only reason we exist. And it's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about what's good for me. It's what's good for our children. And sometimes, that's a difficult decision to make. But I found that we are so fortunate with the children in Palau. And they are absolutely wonderful. They're great kids. You walk through the high school halls in, let's say, Guam or Saipan, and it's not a good feeling sometimes. But here, these kids are great. They deserve the best we can give them.
I'm sorry, Senator Basilius.
Namsulang chairman Dr. Jenkins direct le tawak katyang malya kari. Ako lima sa ikal papier el senta chairman ng Kamal May. Ang plakatak la tele oratel urior school el kawam la otobel el kuk ngaraigel initiatives el kamil kuk ngaringir el anga omes. Menderso no tau tek maikal papier maikal data el kuk tungul mer kamamra omngat maklel omelil tramo o minister mal blakatakla atletele laurior. Hindi ulmak sakal kumusesea agi direk el kuk ngaraskura malgayok. Malungil na oratel school di olngit luasel sum kukuk mamngil. Momes ragin der garden ndi hal maknit. Di umda swatay mlol tirak lakte mela school at telgibul burden sam morter kan kekre ngal. Meng olgum tebe nsepel telgibul mangata hours ra ngara kindergarten kuk selbol first grade kuk to lumol lo botatril mometer sel hours ra school lende kal ngara activity amok ngem mende akal activity kiti olngit lo asem se pedro meser sei kiti ongerung direk mlaringe kuk adu luluai selwase atte kal tablal administration gawe mal botok school Misal kuk ngarinya PSL initiative sel mot maut. El bol ngarinya klawad leungil al adu lo menteri raikal baby ra school ra implementation raikal kuk PSL urior. Mil korang ngarinya ungil understanding mar sensei lol tirak instead re wuk mo one ra department at mul mangarang yang wuk metara department at mul mangarang mar sensei mar adra school mo confused ra tetere lol sak de gay kiti aktung ek mal musulang.
So, Senator Basilius, did you want to say something? Or
Well, I always have felt very, very badly about Malakil because you were promised a new school many years ago with the consolidation, and we have not forgotten.
Senator Talams.
Sula Chairman, well, no doubt at time, Dr. Jenkins, I'm the follower Garcera, initiate initiatives at school. Malme overwhelmed our senses all time. Kalawer and Lamne 3 times over radio interview legal initiatives. Akmilang adudura bebira sensel segel time. The Malme overwhelmed legal initiative. Osisiul time in dimla kangil access til ma internet. Below lidrapa signal utilmen dimla kalungil. Suba malubet review I guess suliar ngalkir. In real time Dr. Jenkins akmil na dodo ra osisiul sensei. Tirap kagrosel teachers. Tamal support legal initiative real time. Takmutam lamo mesen ngarinya namustat ngarinya tamlam lamo opera fruit legal initiatives. Adi taram legan sen tira adi agungil communication in mortir. Osisiul time tumelgok na sesel mid management tergau abal oil mystery ra different instruction. Illegal kung ado ergau Gabriel confirmed Mirnak, the regal principals are regal 12 schools in Mertial meeting last week. Hindi sa ko ba modnet plus el sagum kamongal tangata mga mo minister. Able sabihin mo address sa gila issue of communication. That's important. Yung mansula.
I'll make sure I understand, okay, because this is a delicate issue. The principals have made it very clear, what to me anyway, what they see as what I need to do. And I agree with them. And so what we need to do, and I think we've made a lot of progress on this matter, that we're going, if I am, I don't know, what do you call it, reaffirmed or confirmed, then that's certainly an issue that's going to be addressed. And it's not an impossible issue. The issue of communication is constant. It's always going to be around, because sometimes what we interpret as communication is difference of opinion or difference of background. I think what I found was that once the initiatives we started, they let me know quite clearly what the problems were, is that I gave too much too soon. And so we pulled back and we rescheduled some of them, the implementation of some. But now they were implemented and they see the results now. They see the children learning and they see that their jobs are easier now using those electronic devices. So I think that's an important issue, and it's an important thing for us to all remember that it's not that easy to make change, but it can be done, and I mean that's what I see as a real positive when a principal invites me to come down and see what's going on in the school. That I see as a big something good is happening.
Okay, so Senator Talam said thank you, Dr. Jenkins. Kita sa telela a presenta Senator mananganya sa el soal mom libera Senator Sungino, Vice Chairman.
I don't know whether I say good afternoon or what, because the weather is bad for us today. So, anyway, I thank you for being here to face the Senate for your confirmation hearing. Akmal mrenga sulemel for your effort trying to improve public school educational system to the best of your ability, and I really thank you. You have done some other very important part of our education that we didn't have, and now we have. When we meet most of the principal, they appreciate what you've been doing, and I applaud you for that, and thank you very much. I heard you mentioned a lot of things that been done, and you still have a plan of what you are going to do. And now we have we passed a law for educational master plan, and it started 2017, and we have a 2025, 2026, and it will end on 2027. How much of your program are in the master plan for this past 3 years?
All of it. It's all, let me put it this way. The majority of what I've been doing is in curriculum. It's in what is in the classroom.
And are they in line in the master plan? Okay. I heard the chairman of our educational committee, and he mentioned a lot of things which you are not doing. So it come into my mind, what was the made you go without those he mentioned that you're not doing? What happened?
I think the issue would be we are doing those things. We have the data, but we have not made one of these. I think that's what I'm hearing. Maybe I'm misunderstanding, but that's what I'm hearing, because all of the things about the data, the enrollment, we have all that. We have all that. But it's a matter of our publicizing, getting that information, and then getting it to you or to the committee, which maybe we should meet to get an outline, because when I got the information for today, I didn't know about that.
Okay, I will leave that to the chairman to explain later. Now, we met most of the principal, and my understanding, 2 of them don't have master's degree, and then they have AA. And we talked to them, they have no time to pursue their master's degree. How can you help them to attain their master's degree, MA? Before you go that, are these MA who have a master's degree in principle, are they all master's degree in education? How many of them have a MA in education, and how many of them, and what are the other MA? MA for what?
There are lots of different MAs.
And they are qualified to become a principal with their different MA?
According to the requirements of the, the civil service.
They meet the requirement to be principal.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, how the people with the AA became principals, I don't know. I wasn't here then.
Oh, they've been principal for so many years. I'm just hoping you can help them to attain, at least a bachelor degree rather than AA, because I feel sorry for them not to.
But that's what we are planning on this month. We were hoping to make arrangements with the university to have another degree, which would be a BED, which is a Bachelor's of Education. That's a specific degree. and then we could have a content area for them to take. Now, we also talked with the group, can they also have a master's degree for the principals? Now, that's very difficult if you only have an AA, because in order to get a master's, you must have a BA. So they would have to get once they get their BA, then they can enroll for the master's.
That's why if you find a way to help those two, instead
That's no problem. I mean, one of the issues we have is would be in timing. We were able to time the professors coming down here during the intersessions, or vacation time periods. So what we can do is make arrangements for our next cadre or cohort, whichever one you want to call it, which would be the BED. And that would solve so many of our problems, because with the BED, you have a content area of which you specialize in, be it math, science, or whatever else. Early childhood, special ed. But yeah, I'm the same way. But again, on the other hand, I believe firmly in education, obviously, and I think degrees are important. But individuals must have their own pathway to get there. So if we can, I'll do everything I can. I know who you're talking about, and we can certainly sit down and, as we are developing the new cohort, make arrangements for that person to be in there. There should be no problem at all. I don't have a problem. I don't see the difference between a principal being in the cohort and teachers being in the cohort. That's no problem.
Okay.
We can do that.
Okay, another educational and instructional leadership. Are your principal and teachers, do they have that?
We are trying to have them. That we have, they've been undergoing professional development for that. And as I've tried to do is by giving them, and they use the word empower them. I try to empower them. So they are making more and more decisions. Now, some of them feel that if they're teaching a course, they don't have time to do the leadership. And that's a valid concern, how they can use their time. But yeah, the educational leadership is the key of what we're trying to get them to do. So the entire program of the Chief Tabalwal is working on is in that area of educational leadership.
Okay. Another thing that we can see the improvement of the classroom students is the quality of the teachers. So if we see some of the elementary school, they're not attaining what we expect, is because of the teachers. So we can see all the elementary school, there are some the students are having a high grade, and some elementary school are not having a high grade. Like Koror Elementary School used to be the top school in Palau. Now it's not. What's the problem?
Too many students, too few teachers. They have the largest student-teacher ratio. For example, their student-teacher ratio is 28 students to 1 teacher.
So
other schools, we have a student ratio of 4 to 1, or 2 to 1.
So you've been there for 3.5 years. Why you have not done anything? And you come here now and said it's too many students. And there's a law, I don't know whether it's a law or a regulation, that the people in IRI, their children should be in IRI. The student in Mayuns should be, the parents are from there. Now we can see Koror and Menta, but we cannot stop them because this became an issue that many students not in Koror or some other parts of Koror are coming to Koror Elementary School, and it become an issue because they say, we parents have a choice where we want our children to be. That's why Koror Elementary School now there are a lot of students there. So how can you help to do that so we don't face this situation? And now you want to be a minister.
We have implemented districting, which I think was done before, so that we have drawn lines, and that information was given out to parents, teachers of if you live here, then your child should go to this school. But the problem we have is that what if your child's already in Corral Elementary School and they've been going there for 5 years? We don't want to tell them, oh, you've got to pull them out and put them somewhere else. So we had to grandfather those kids so that they could continue to be there. Does that make sense to you, what I'm saying? Because if a parent puts their child in Corral Elementary School in kindergarten, and we come along in 5th grade and say, oh, you're on the wrong side of the district line, you need to move to Munes. I don't think that's educationally sound. I think the issue would be we have asked principals to not allow new students who come in who live outside their districts. The enrollment at Corral Elementary School has gone down by over 100. So it used to be over 600. Is that what I say? It's now close to 500. But the issue, not only that it's the campus is so congested that we really need to build a new school, because we have there's a store in the middle of the campus, for crying out loud. And there's no room for the kids to play. There's no room for them there. But where can we build a new school? Not in Koror, because Koror's too crowded. So one of the reasons in identification of IRI is that some of the people in IRI are going to have to start sending their kids to school in IRI. And that's a good school. There's no problem with it. They do well. But I've talked to several people, people in some cases and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Chair, it's convenience. They work here, they want to drop them off, they want to be able to pick them up.
Maybe it's on another thing is convenience.
Yeah.
They're coming to work in Koror, so it's easy for them to drop their students here. So we try to see what we can do to help that.
But we definitely need a new school. Koror needs to be redone.
Yeah, no question about that.
Okay,
but we don't build school. We help you to build. So if you need help, let us know. And another thing, you can see all of us here. We didn't have lunch in school and breakfast. I don't know if one senator in Abu Dhabi, do you have lunch in school and breakfast in school? But so that's a good program. We don't say it's not good, but I heard that there are some of the parents, their kids, they sleep late, and when they wake up, hey, just get your shirt and wash your face and go. You're going to miss breakfast in school.
It goes back to the changes in our society, as Senator Nakama was saying. It's just different. I mean, I'm raising grandkids. That's hard. I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning.
Can you just tell us, if you know, what's the breakfast they do eat, so the parents will know, because maybe some parents don't know what their kids gonna eat in school in the morning.
Oh, okay. We have a menu. The menu that goes on to every school.
Are they eating egg and drinking milk?
I don't know if we're going to be eating eggs for a while. Yeah, the eggs went. Yeah.
Or they eat spam.
We have an amazing group of people working with our food services who are able to, and we have friends from the Taiwan farming who donate vegetables for us. But the breakfast, milk and eggs are really getting expensive.
Yeah, expensive now. $11. I don't know how can we afford that. Anyway, thank you very much, Dr. Jenkins, to see you here and talk to you. And we have to say something so we wake up. Yeah, because I see some of us feel sleepy now. So thank you very much, and nice to see you here and talk to you about our educational system. Thank you.
I'm sorry, Presidente. Senator Udimania, one question here, then Vice Chairman.
Sure, Chairman Taulwale, Mr. Dr. Jenkins. Who sets the curriculum Palau High School or public schools? Ta control I get subject to teach or required to teach I get what school of Belau. Who dictates the curriculum?
What is, who
Who
determines?
sets, yeah, who determines the subjects to be taught in school? How is that process?
The process would be, it's a ministerial decision.
So English, science, literature.
No, that's by law.
That's by law.
But what courses within those subjects we teach are determined by the schools.
I get a question. Are there any courses being taught because of a grant determines that or requires that a course be taught in schools?
No.
Yeah, again.
No.
Again, ngarinya talbal offer and then nakawa ko tawar malubago kongay. Have you ever been approached to teach a lesson because of a grant or some ideology in school? Whether you have to make a choice to say yes or no?
For it?
Huh?
No.
Yeah, for the school. Okay. Yeah, sulang. Chairman, tawala di sa logering ng anisir blanket to appropriation. And sometimes we blindly we appropriate though without knowing what are the conditions are. This are the red flag si chairman. I don't want it any maybe assuming that much is religion or public schools, then why put somebody's political doctrine inside of the schools? This are note to chairman.
Okay. Let me correct myself. The grants have parameters, all of them. For example, if we're going to, and when we write the grant, we have to put down we're going to do this, this, and this. Certain things.
Okay, so you get the conditions and parameters and conditions. I get al time mo hantay ra ko Mr. Trump.
I think it would be a good idea because I firmly believe that he would support what we're doing here.
Okay.
Because we're doing things, I think, that are appropriate for schools.
Basically.
Yes, I think the basic skills which we're focusing on, I think he would have I don't think we'd have any problem with President Trump.
Okay. So lang Dr. Jenkins, Chairman, please did no training looking to the future. That's why the political wind that will change the courses around the school. It can create confusion. This all notice if you got lucky with the morning, then let's try and set the straight path.
Yeah, no, I've never felt of any pressure to change a course or offer
to accommodate
certain
somebody's
course
belief or something.
Yeah, but the as I said, with the grants, as a special ed would probably be the closest thing we have to having specific restrictions to it. But that's a different matter in terms of.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So then set a common ground, and then let to each their own freedom to do whatever. But still basic for our school, with protect the kids. So that's what I'm saying. Sulang, if you get lucky, then the daughter said, Chairman Russell, how do you determine that common ground? Sulang.
Yeah, Sula Senator Rodriguez saying the reminder. Again, Sula Beklada Kaloreng, Edo Tan Sateal, Vice Chairman Sungino.
3 hours and 40 minutes and 50 seconds. Orange. I'm watching the clock there. We start at 2 and now it's 5. So, yeah, I've been sitting down listening to all this and I've been writing down notes, trying to figure out my questions. Ning maldi mo ano question mo ano comment. I get question amla I questionnaire ligo raw. Tiel question nga number 5. Say, do you currently have any medical or physical condition that may hinder your ability to fully perform your duties required as a minister? Is there anything that you think may conflict with your appointment that you would like to disclose at this time? Amla insirakak masay none. However, I am happy to discuss any questions the members may have regarding my medical or physical condition. So I want to take that route and ask that question.
So you're the one who got that question, huh? Actually, in spite of my advanced age, I feel great. I received I want to brag, my wellness program. I'm only 52, according to that, in my metabolic age. Yeah, I took a kegare. Yeah. But when I had my seizure, and I went to the hospital, and I had a tremendous doctor staff. They checked everything. I had MRIs, CATs, EGGs. I've had every alphabet that went through, and found out that my internal organs are great. I was very happy about that. And they said basically once they let me out of the hospital early, and they said basically, take it easy for a month, and that was, I think, November of last year. It's been over a year. And I have listened to what my doctor tells me to do in terms of eating, and not doing things that he tells me not to do in terms of chewing or drinking, and I feel great. I wake up at 5 o'clock every morning, even if I don't want to come. Don't come. I'm semi-retired now, I think, and I still wake up at 5 in the morning. But I just basically wanted to discuss this because, yeah, I'm an old man, but I'm not an old man. I'm old in age, but when you work with children, and I know this Senator Tapalwal has the same experience, they keep you young. They really do. I mean, I really would advise it as a career. But you never know what the future holds. I might get run over by a truck tomorrow. I don't know. But as far as anything that I think would limit my ability, the only thing that I can say is that I don't like to drive 2 hours a day any longer, and that I find I can get so much more work done when I'm being driven, and that's something that has been a very nice convenience. And I really want to thank the person who volunteered to do this for me, because she lives right next door, and it's really convenient for both of us. I know she worries about it sometimes because I'm late or something. But I can't slam dunk anymore, but I think that's something. But I also wanted to point out to you that I wanted to thank you for all the basketball and volleyball courts that we're getting around our schools. That's great stuff, so thanks. But no, I'm probably better shape than most of you. My metabolic age, anyway.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Ang lasting, close to tele about the touch ringil dire kaleng tiyak lang arakaw. Ya tokora development of course sensei medlos issue as being a parent or being a coach. Like mesang ayel similarities ringil low relevant ngal. And character development maaritud klol part sige del tokora development sila gel trill principles professions. Awul makmaloy kaya jakal because ang tida omorior kada malat karal dire kana maklol ade dasrak lang arakal guk dire kal babying so amal guk olungul, and then help advice aguk kerel adal nga aguk background nga sports, and it's really hard to always let go of being in a position of triangle. Sometimes it's hard for us to let go of the leadership part and try to help bring the next other move up the ladder, to move the idea, to generate more ideas from him and make them do the work, the overall work for everybody. Mang akbalang li sige del maring el part of letting go, dik tire kalau marang masangaring ar migay kalel adang al sila Ministry of Education o mestrir, mawuro loban tril asap ML build on them. Akari kalel korakak mas do you see them, or can you see a person in there that you can build or motivate to take the leadership skills el kaolap, or move the ball to the next level el kaong marangaring. Sige da korakari kalel korakak.
Right now, not really. It's there. We have really good people, but I think ministers a little bit of a different approach. I'm not sure if I'm saying this properly. I have full confidence in my abilities, but I'm not stubborn anymore. I've mellowed out a lot because I've learned that it's better to work as a team than it is to try and do everything on your own. And So that's one of the things that I think the principals here have taught me. So that I think I'm better for it, and I think they're better. They're much better for it because they are assuming more and more responsibility, which is great. I think it's really great because that's what they're the people who are at the schools. They know they're the leaders of the schools. My job is to give big crazy ideas, and talk to you guys. But the principals are the leaders.
Sulang lang nga di last legal sila gimitar principles at tadi kaman bring up ring. Igel tulto ko awan ablam bumungis mo di communication. Awan ring at to relationship, the working relationship with you and the staff under you. Sige da mal ko ra diri kam le critical lang and dia ka ungil working relationship or sige lesang and then ngungil lang agel initiatives sa miru la ngani positive change la relil mora adia kadil school dire kal more parents sila nga ka parent ra ngal ka school ako ma ngalige ka man dire kal ngani positive result lekti comment ra ka mas 3 years ago nga kamal to train dimlak agree ra year round dimlak agree ringi because sa kukluro ra sports program umrang al mas sel summer gi kuk malarangal ka do all the sports programs within that time frame so mnes up ra development tra sports nga kamla alsel. So I didn't agree with it. And as time goes on, akman mo understand that we work with different things. Changes is hard, and di kita adjust mo change. Yeah, sige dalom dilil masay to help our children learn akum das in the basic principle area rogul toy. If ang alage ka comfortable all year round, nga kal parent nga ma-complain. If they're comfortable in that situation they understand that 3 weeks come back to school, ak mesa ak masungungil mortir. Rula kal parent ak I have to adjust my time to my kid. Di kumrang kung ngay kita future. Ako mo sa gid am lemring la change hindi sa gid collaboration and understanding are other real la sila tol murul ringi. Sa gid am lekot lemring le partnering. Yaka am na admit kung say it was hard for you to change. Kautil finally kung la mesa sa gid if you listen to people, if you listen more, you will understand more and you will move the ball. Adi mo last comment nga kakmasay. It boils down to the master plan. Letyan master plan, aluluus nga artilik lulya ku ergaw. Marbatokal it's a collaborative effort in different agencies ra sila education system who were writing this. Maul misal sum kada di mel ku tingo di ateli berngi di lakad bolo tingar that creates a lot of chaos ra sel tel to. But thankfully, ko koram la seril itan, ya kumbrang masay if you work with other people like PCC and again maybe the educational institution pusaygal concept raw, maybe it will work faster. Aktimoy okmoy kagi del tultokol ay kaklilu se koradi okera all the summer gire. Tool statement del dire kal doren si. I'm not gonna let education get in the way of my learning. Around the summer, say.
I don't know who said it, but I agree with it. Yes.
So education, other than passing every day, doesn't mean it has to be in the school. But you wake up every day and you learn something. It's up to you to learn that thing. Sometimes but people learn from what they experience every day. Yeah, last comment if you want to walk fast, walk alone. If you want to walk farther, walk together. It boils down to those two things. Last statement. Finally, understand. If I walk with all these people, we will take it farther. All the swam will go farther than the swimmer. So I'll point out again. It's been an opportunity for me to work with you. Nomination of President Whips, I'll move to Travis for the next 4 years. How are you? And cognitive mind, memory, and working with those people. Can you handle it for the next 4 years? Sulang.
I say that Namu Malkrek, Meklut and Malmring Asuleme, Dr. Jenkins, let me thank you for the patience to be here and the one in the back. Kung mo mereka hearing lagi mong kung skate lembang, you'll do your closing statement, and then I'll have Vice Chairman so close the hearing for us. So let me give the mic to you. Thank you.
See what time is it? Oh, okay. 15 minutes. Sorry. No. The time has flown by to me, and I really do appreciate the chance to talk about our schools and our kids, because I think they don't get talked about enough. I appreciate the comments, and I've got some, just like you do, Vice Chair, I've got a lot of notes here. We have a long way to go at the MOE, but we've come a long way, and I don't want to make it sound like it's all roses and sunshine there, but it's a really good effort of a bunch of really nice, good people, and I think that it was difficult for them to know me, just as my wife has told me, you're not Palawan. Okay, yeah, that's true, and that I had, in my mind, I thought I had this term, 2 years, this past term, to get stuff done. And so I was pushing really hard because I know those programs work. I've used them before. I know they work, and they are working here. It's going to be very, very special. Again, getting back to the master plan. The master plan was it 2006, 2007? That's the one that I think I've been using more. That I think it had more detail to it and following with it. But again, we've got another route, and I do appreciate that we do need to publicize the data that we have, because we have everything you've talked about. We have that, attendance, enrollment, all of those things. We have all that information, but it's a matter of putting it into a booklet or a form that can be used by the policymakers. But as you deliberate, I ask one thing, that as you put that, however you vote, ask yourself, is your vote going to help our students learn? Yes or no? That's my only thing I would comment on that. I would really appreciate the opportunity to work with the children again, and but whatever you decide is your decision. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and I look forward to hearing from you in the near future.
So lang Mr. Jenkins sa closing statement rakaw. Aktimo ko na magiging kal tismodi tetele laurior. Lang chairman ako kung sa kadra gagawin information ng gimingilar hearing. Murula report. Report wal Mr. nga rogon members na committee. Yal kanyering itasayang ringi. Modar sal mora rangalela Senate. Almo malarak ngay malubang ang kotowar nomination rakaw. Saya kita mau treteler sa next schedule del session. Maktiwa tel confirmation hearing, with confirmation hearing ang Mr. Jenkins agimal maring asulem gila teme melu iloy tel May tinga rogul okyal rakal supporters temne owen gemre la sils ya urang asulit tinga rogul senators agi urang asulit la presidenta Senate pasubel ng Oklahoma officers Senate Vice President ma floor leader ma rogul members committee material members kung sa May kada ali me secretarial confirmation hearing tel hearing ade mi tengi close sulang